Hey now, happy Monday afternoon. Welcome to 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero, and Spencer Dupuis here with you for the next 3.5 hours today. Slight schedule change. The Royals moved up first pitch today against the Milwaukee Brewers. As you probably have heard by this point, there is severe weather expected, forecasted, or at least being prepared for all across the greater Southern Plains region. So the Royals, to try to get this one over as quickly as possible, moved up first pitch by 30 minutes today. So we're out of here for pregame at 5:30. We've got a jam-packed 3.5 hours coming your way, though, including some Royals baseball. We'll get to that here in just a moment. Incredible vibes on Friday when the Royals beat the Rangers. Like the best vibes at the K since 2015, maybe. I mean, just an unbelievable scene. Unfortunately, not able to keep that momentum going Saturday and Sunday, but we'll get to all of the Royals weekend action here in just a few moments. We'll also talk a little Royals baseball in the 4 o'clock hour today. There's a big trade in Major League Baseball this weekend, and reportedly, the Royals may have had a little bit of interest in getting in on some of that Luis Arraez action. So we'll get to that coming up in the 4 o'clock hour today. And again, we're done at 5:30 for Royals baseball pregame as well. Also in this opening hour of the show, we'll get to some K-State basketball. Not a good weekend for Jerome Tang's group. Two players, their top two targets in the portal, both go elsewhere. One of them, honestly, I'm not too broken up about because I didn't really have any expectations he was going to end up at K-State. The other one, though, hurts a little bit, and maybe more than a little bit. So we'll get to what the K-State basketball roster looks like coming up here a little bit later on this hour. Lots of Chiefs to get to today. Andy Reid spoke earlier this afternoon. We will hear from him. We are also planning to hear from a number of rookies, Xavier Worthy, Kingsley Suamataia, who pronounced his name, by the way. He was asked as soon as he walked to the podium, will you please clarify how to pronounce your name? So you are going to hear it just like we're going to hear it, and we're not going to get it wrong from that point forward. Also, I think we're going to listen to a little Jared Wiley. He spoke this weekend too. A lot of positive buzz about the Chiefs' fourth-round rookie tight end. Lots of positive buzz about him. I thought he had some interesting quotes as well, so we'll get to him a little bit later on in the show today. And Matt Verderame is going to join us in the 3 o'clock hour for our weekly talk about all things NFL on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. All of that, plus the good, the bad, and the ugly, what is wrong with you, and a whole lot more coming up today on 580 Sports Talk. You know the drill. If you want to be a part of the show, you can dial us in on the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429, or you can find us on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the name of our YouTube channel. Thank you to all of our new subscribers over the weekend, up to 512 on the channel. Appreciate all you guys. You can find us on YouTube, also on Facebook, WIBW News, and Twitter at 580 Sports Talk, all the different places where you can watch the video stream of the show today. But we start with the Kansas City Royals. They dropped 2 out of 3 this weekend to the Texas Rangers. I do want to start with the best game of the weekend for the Royals, which was Friday night, 7-1 victory. I don't think, even with back-to-back losses Saturday and Sunday, you can gloss over the fact that the energy at the K, the intensity, the vibes, the feeling, all back in a way that it hasn't been back at the K in almost a full decade at this point. I mean, you had a great crowd. You had the sellout crowd on Saturday as well, but you had a great crowd. It was loud. It was energized. The broadcast was picking it up really well, I thought, both TV and radio. That was a big deal. It's unfortunate to not capitalize on that, but if you have been waiting to buy in on the Royals, I saw our pal Vance, who's a P1 of the show. He was tweeting at you this weekend, said, I've been cautious about buying all the way in, but I think I'm there. I think that was Friday night.
Yeah.
Like, that should be, for everybody, an example of what you might be buying into this year. Why you should feel like this is different, because this group is different.
So I don't want to get out too far over my skis and say that it felt like a playoff game on Friday night, but that was certainly a different regular season atmosphere than I think we've experienced at Kauffman Stadium since the title-winning core was broken up after the 2017 season. Like, it has been a while since Kauffman Stadium felt like that, made noise like that. Royals players fired up to be in a spot like they were. Brady Singer, John Schreiber coming off the mound, fired up after getting big outs to keep the game close, to keep the Royals on the plus side, and then for Salvador Perez, of all players, to break it open with the big home run late. That was something that has largely been absent from Kauffman Stadium the last half decade. That's a big step. That doesn't just show that the team's feeling it. It shows that the fans are feeling it. And as we'll discuss a little bit later on, I think the front office and the brain trust are feeling it too. Like, this has the opportunity to be a year, not just where we take a step forward, but a year where we be in the mix and try to play some October baseball and give this great baseball fan base and this great baseball market some more postseason baseball. So that was terrific. Brady Singer was really good.
Yeah,
Bullpen did his job. Salvi with the big swing of the bat. Just been so much fun to see how well he's swung it the first month and change of this season. Great win on Friday. And then the bad vibes kind of settled in. Saturday was that was the first time really all year that the Royals just got their clocks cleaned.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't it the first time they've lost by 10 or more?
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. I think it's probably the first time they've lost. I'm trying to think of what their other biggest loss was. I don't think they've lost by more than like 5 or 6 runs. I know the Mets got them like 6-1 in one of those road games.
Yes. So they lost by 5. They lost 6-1 to the Mets. They lost 5-0 to the Orioles. And those were the 2 worst losses until Saturday.
Your blowout losses, your losses of 5 or more runs. And we've talked about how the Royals have been winning a lot of games more than you'd expect by 5 or more. That was just the third time all year they lost by 5 or more. And that was a frustrating one. Michael Wacha didn't have it. Right now, the off-speed stuff is just sitting in a very hittable part of the strike zone. And that can happen sometimes when you're a pitcher who's not going to blow guys away. You're not going to throw it by anybody. You've got to keep hitters off balance. You've got to induce some weak contact or induce some swings and misses. The changeup middle or middle in or middle away is not a very effective pitch. And right now, I just don't think he's locating the ball very well. He's in a bit of a funk. He started out really well. Last couple of starts haven't been real good for Michael Wacha, and the Royals certainly need him to get rolling back in the right direction.
Well, let's just jump in right there, because I wanted to ask specifically about Wacha, because the first couple starts thought, awesome, he's pitching like a number 2, not a 3 or a 4. That's great. Obviously, well, I think it was obvious anyway, some of these guys you were going to see a little bit of regression from the unbelievable starts to the year, and Wacha probably chief among them, given that he is an older pitcher. We sort of know what you're going to get from Michael Wacha at this point. If you are statistically inclined, you might go and look and say, wow, that ERA is really bad, but the fielding independent numbers, the FIP, the FIP, it looks better than the ERA is, so maybe there's a little bit of bad luck there. Not giving up a ton of home runs. Doesn't walk a ton of guys. He's actually in one of the upper echelons of starting pitchers in Major League Baseball in terms of not allowing a lot of walks this season. There's 61%. It's good. You'll take that from anybody pretty much. But he's also not striking out a lot of guys. He's not missing a lot of bats. He's not getting guys to chase. You can go look at some of the other advanced metrics, the stuff that MLB and that Baseball Savant keep. There's a lot of blue. And on the binary of blue or red, you want more red than you want blue. And there's a lot of blue right now for Michael Wacha. What is the concern level for him? To me, it's concerning that he has been, objectively bad these last couple of times out. That is a concern. That being said, I think this coaching staff should get, at least for now, benefit of the doubt that they will be able to find out ways to help these guys out and get guys who are slumping or struggling back on track. Also, Michael Wacha's got a track record. He's been a good pitcher over the course of his career. Not a great pitcher, but a good pitcher over the course of his career. I'd like to believe that a guy who's 32 years old in his 12th MLB season knows how to course correct. I don't think he's completely lost everything by any means, but it is a little bit unfortunate that these last 2 have been pretty dang ugly. That's 11 earned runs given up in under 9 innings, last 2 starts.
So I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert on how this stuff gets figured, but Baseball Savant has what's called a run value per pitch. Basically, how valuable is each pitch in your arsenal? Michael Wacha's best pitch is his changeup. That's well known. We have known for a long time that Michael Wacha is a changeup specialist. In 2022, Michael Wacha's changeup was worth 9 runs. In 2023, his changeup was worth 12 runs. In 2019, it was worth 14 runs. And so far here in 2024, his changeup has been worth 5 runs. His changeup is a really good pitch. He gets lots of swings and misses on it. He gets the bulk of his strikeouts on it. He doesn't give up a lot of hard contact on it, though I think he has in the last couple of starts, which has been an issue. The changeup is a really good pitch. The problem is the fastball right now for Michael Wacha, not locating the fastball maybe as well as he needs to. Last year, his fastball was worth 12 runs. This year, it's been worth -6. And that is a little bit more in line with the career arc of Michael Wacha, where he has not always had a great fastball. In 2019, his fastball was worth -17 runs. That's bad. That's horrible. In fact, that's you want to throw other pitches a lot more often if that's the case. And so far this year, Wacha is throwing his changeup more than he's throwing any other pitches. He's got a 5-pitch mix. He throws the changeup 34% of the time, throws the fastball only 24% of the time. The fastball's getting tuned up. So that's obviously the adjustment right now that Wacha needs to make is he needs to get better results with the fastball, or he needs to junk it all together and maybe throw his sinker a little bit more often, which he's throwing 15% of the time, and it's just a -1 run value. Or just go all in on changeups and curveballs, which I don't think is really sustainable. He's got to find a way to get some better results off his fastball. One way you do that is get yourself in counts where you don't have to throw as many fastballs in predictable counts. But like you said, there's an adjustment to be made. We've seen already this year, Brady Singer's made some adjustments with regards to when he throws his certain kinds of fastballs. We've seen Seth Lugo, his last 2 starts, start to vary his pitch mix even more and get really good results, start to see the strikeouts tick up for him. I think we can still see it tick in a good direction for Michael Wacha, but a lot of it's going to come down to the old number 1.
Yeah, you need to get more out of him. You mentioned the comparison to Brady Singer, though, and I think, again, maybe I'm giving too much credit to the staff and to Matt Quattrero and his guys, but finding a way to make these pitchers as comfortable as they can be while also trying to maximize what they bring to the table. That's how I would describe what they've been able to do with Brady Singer, who was really good this weekend. Like you mentioned, 6 innings. That's what I wanted of him. Brady Singer has the ability, the pedigree that the Royals expect from him. He should be able to give you more than 5 and fly every time out. Can you get 6 solid innings out of him? If you can get that, Brady Singer is a really good pitcher, but it's been a matter of his whole career. Can he throw more than 2 pitches? Is he more than a 2-pitch guy who you kind of are forced to think might be a bullpen arm because he doesn't mix it up enough? This year, they've been able to get a little bit more out of him. They've gone to 4 pitches at times, not a ton, but they've been able to mix it up with his arsenal enough that he's been effective and still comfortable and not getting out of the good tendencies he's developed in his career. Michael Wacha, a guy who has a longer and frankly better track record than Brady Singer, I trust that he's able to figure these things out. This is not the first time in his career he's slumped. He's also made 7 starts and has pitched 37 2/3 innings. There's a lot of baseball left this season. And based on his career, there's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 95 innings left in him this season. So there's plenty of time for him to get that.
He'll have to bounce back, but he's in a funk, no question.
Yesterday, Daniel Lynch got the start, and despite losing, and it was a bummer to score the 2 runs early, and then from innings 4 through 10 to have a grand total of 3 hits and 1 walk. Not great from the offense, obviously. But I was happy to see Daniel Lynch come out and pitch really well, because we had just talked last week when it was Jonathan Bolin who got the call up from Omaha to get a start in place of Alec Marsh. He stunk, but we talked about, hey, look, what are you, A, expecting from this guy? And B, that says a lot about Daniel Lynch, that not only was he not the number 1 choice to get the 5th starter spot, he wasn't even the number 2 choice. They gave it to Bolin before they gave it to Lynch. I was very happy to see him come out and pitch pretty well. 2 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, 5 shutout innings.
Just 5, though. Is he starting in AAA?
Yes, he's been starting. They pulled him after 74. And look, I'm okay with them doing that to a number 5 starter who really is like your number 6, maybe even your number 7 starter. I'm okay with saying, hey, this is a championship lineup. We don't want them to see him 3 times. We don't want the bulk of this lineup. That, to me, is more a Matt Quattrero decision based on the third time through the order penalty more so than it's about, well, Daniel Lynch just can't give you. He was only 74 pitches into his day, but I'm okay with the decision. Hey, maybe we don't want to let Adolis Garcia face him a third time.
Maybe my only thought would be if you throw him 6, maybe that helps the bullpen a little bit more. And,
I see what you're saying, but
you had stayed off the plus side of the bullpen the night before because things got so ugly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you really, I don't think we're too concerned about getting into the plus side. It's you look at who was due up in the next inning for the Rangers, who was due up in the 6th, heart of their order: Seager, Lau, Garcia, Heim. Like that is precisely where you want to say, okay, I don't think I want my 7th best starting pitcher to face these guys a third time. Even if you have the left on left advantage, which Lynch struck out Seager twice. So he'd gotten his number twice, but at the same time, I know Seager's struggling too. That's still 2-time World Series MVP certified stud Corey Seager. Do you really want to give him a third look at Daniel Lynch? Do you really want to give Adolis Garcia a third look at Daniel Lynch? I think that was the crux of the decision. And Angel Zerpa made that stand up. Zerpa worked 2 scoreless innings. He's all of a sudden found an extra inch or 2 on his fastball and is pitching really well right now out of the Royals bullpen. I'd like to see him maybe in some more plus side multi-inning opportunities because he handled the one yesterday really, really well against the fat part of that order.
A couple of quick notes on the pitching staff. One, I think it's just a matter of expectations with a guy like Daniel Lynch. Like, we probably know about what he is at this point. I mean, the stuff is good. You and I have talked about that a bunch over the last couple of years, Dan, that his stuff is good. The length, he's gone, I think, 8 innings a couple of times in his career, certainly 7+ a couple of times in his career. He's been able to do that, but knowing what the long-term track record of Daniel Lynch is, it's probably the safer bet to just say, hey, look, we got 5. Let's not push it. Let's get 5 good ones. And the bullpen has been good for a while now, or good enough anyway. You can trust that they can take care of it, especially when you've got multiple guys who can go multiple innings. I like that about this bullpen. I like that you've got an Angel Zerpa who can give you multiple innings. I'm a big fan of relievers who can do that. James McArthur, I love that you have a closer who can do that. Now, yesterday was not his best day, obviously.
Gave up the dinger. And
then the Manfred ball run.
Tough luck off the foul pole on the Jonah Heim dinger. He bowed his back and got out of the 9th, gave the Royals a chance to win it in the 9th. Gave up the Manfred run, but if you're the Royals, you got to cash that in too.
Right. Again, you had 3 hits in the final 6 innings of the game. Like you and all singles. You've got to do more than that.
And the problem wasn't just not getting the runner in. I mean, bottom of the 8th, you've got Perez up. Dairon Blanco steals 2 bases, and you've got a big insurance run with a 2-1 lead sitting there at third with 1 out. You got to have contact. And Salvi went down swinging on the 3-2 pitch, and Massey popped out, and then that set up the game-tying home run by Heim, which would have made it 3-2 if you just cashed Blanco in. Then in the 10th, you get the ghost runner at second base. Kyle Isbell strikes out looking on a 3-2 pitch. Got to have contact. Just a ground ball to the pull side gets that runner to third with 1 out, and you have an opportunity to tie the game. You play for the tie at home, right? You play for the win on the road. You play for the tie at home. That was a spot. I know that I'm not the only one that's critical of this. Maybe you think about laying one down there with Kyle Isbell. I know that Garcia's a bit strikeout prone at the top of the order, but he's also your leadoff hitter. You got to trust him to put the ball in play. I think you got to put a priority on moving that runner over, getting the run, and going from there, especially because you know that because you've removed Vinny Pasquantino and turned the 3-hole into the pitcher spot, you in all likelihood in that inning, if you were Matt Cottrell, we're going to have to send a struggling Nelson Velasquez or a struggling Garrett Hampson to the plate against the Rangers closer. I don't want that inning to come down to one of those guys has to get a hit. And it did. And so I thought, again, like over the course of 162 games, I've never seen a manager get every button correctly pushed.
Sure.
But I don't think they handled the bottom of the 10th especially well yesterday, and I think it was costly. But again, if Isbell grounds out to the second baseman, then maybe Garcia's ground ball sneaks through and it's a base hit. We got a tie ball game.
Yeah.
So
Game of inches.
Yeah, and the players have to execute at the end of the day. But I would have liked to have seen them handle that a little bit differently.
One thing I do want to bring up, the ancillary parts of the Kansas City Royals. Both Joe and JB have mentioned this in the 580 Sports Talk YouTube comments so far. Joe said, if I could watch them on TV, I would be even more excited. JB also adds, MLB has to fix this Bally mess. Yeah, now even fewer people can watch Bally Sports.
Yeah.
How about that?
What happened?
Love that.
Comcast
Dropped him.
Oh, yeah.
Another carriage dispute.
Oh, yeah. We love those. We love making it harder to watch the product that is on the field. So many people put the game on. There are a lot of diehards out there. I know we're talking to a few of you who are diehard. I structure my evening social time around when the Royals are on television. You're that kind of baseball viewing fan. A lot more of you are, if the ball game's on, maybe I'll put it on, catch a few innings. Maybe I'll have it on in the background while we're cooking dinner. That kind of a thing. And first of all, you can always catch the radio broadcast right here on your home for the Royals since 1969, 580 WIBW. So you got that going for you, which is nice. But two, when you don't offer the casual fan an easy way to consume your product, they're not going to go the extra mile. They're not going to pay the $20 for Bally Sports Plus. It's just not going to happen. You are only going to get the diehards, the maniacs to do that. And I say maniacs affectionately. I'm a maniac. I get where you maniacs are coming from. We all get where you're coming from. But for the more casual Royals fan, for the person who, I'll put it on in the background, or, I got the kids tucked in, and maybe I'll turn the game on for a little bit, see how it ends. To not have that option on television is a perfect way for people to just treat them like they're out of sight, out of mind. And this isn't all the Royals' fault. Like the Bally Sports quagmire, there are a lot of people to blame for what's gone wrong there.
MLB, Diamond Sports, everybody.
Yeah, it's not just point the finger at the Kansas City Royals and say, you've screwed this up. A lot of people. Failure has many fathers, and this one is certainly one of those. But it's disheartening. And just know that we here at 580 WIBW, the home of the Kansas City Royals since 1969, we've got your back.
Yeah, listen to the radio.
580 cares. If Bally Sports don't care.
Did you see there's also a Bally Sports?
Also StreamEast.app, but you didn't hear that.
There's a Bally Sports situation going up north with the WNBA.
Yeah, they had a carriage problem with the WNBA preseason game. So a bunch of people didn't get to watch the Chicago Sky, the Caitlin Clark preseason opener. Yeah, it's a disaster. It's a terrible service. That's the big problem here. Not only is it really inaccessible, it also stinks. How many times last year was there a Royals day game that ran a little bit long and they didn't catch it on the broadcast? We had multiple times last season. We would be sitting in the office here in the station, and the game would be 10 minutes overtime, and Bally would be picking up World Tennis Tour stuff.
It would jump to like third round action on the ATP Masters Tour.
How in the world does this happen? It is ridiculous. Unbelievably bad. Best case scenario is that something happens for the Royals and for every team that deals with this, like has happened with Colorado, the Padres, the Diamondbacks.
Just those three for now.
Where they split from it. MLB takes over the broadcast rights, and then there's a number of local TV affiliates that pick it up.
They find local distribution. So like with, in the case of the Rockies, their RSN, AT&T Sports Rocky Mountain, was not available on a lot of the cable and satellite providers, but now their games are available. Like there's a channel for it on Dish. There's a channel for it on DirecTV.
The channel is just for that, right?
And there's a channel for it on, I want to say Xfinity, the Comcast, essentially. Yeah. So that would be great if ultimately that were the solution for the Royals, where the Royals were produced by MLB Productions, the broadcasts were in-house, it were the same broadcasters, and it would just be on the Royals channel, like channel 946, that you just knew to go to when the Royals were on Cox or on Xfinity or on Dish or on DirecTV or whatever it is. That would be the ideal here.
And I know the Padres and Diamondbacks for sure too, and I can't speak to the Rocky situation. They also have in a few of the bigger cities or towns in their media markets, just local broadcast stations. Like in San Diego, Channel 4, which is an over-the-air broadcast channel, had the Padres for forever, lost them to cable. Now they're on there again. And you just, Channel 4. Put them on 49.1 or whatever in Topeka. Like, no one's watching that anyway. Like, sorry, KSNT. But, like, put them on there. Perfect.
Put them on Cox 22.
Yeah, put them somewhere.
Yeah.
Put them on the Your View channels.
Right.
I don't know. Put them somewhere. That's the best case scenario. Sadly, the Royals have not gotten to a spot as bad as those other three teams have, so we're stuck with Bally for the time being.
It is still a significant source of revenue, these cable deals for teams, and I understand wanting to scratch and claw with your fingernails to maintain that source of revenue if you are a business person, but it will get to a point eventually where like the Bally situation just becomes totally and completely untenable, and we're not far away.
No, it's really not. We've got more Royals baseball to get to a little bit later on today. On the other side of this break, though, tough weekend for K-State hoops. So what's next for Jerome Tang? We'll get to that coming up on 580 Sports Talk. Just getting started on 580 Sports Talk on this Monday afternoon. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Brendan, Dan, and Spencer with you. Don't forget, you can check out the show, the video stream on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. You can also go and check us out on our website, and you can find the YouTube stream there, 580wibw.com. Tough weekend for K-State basketball in the transfer portal. Dan, do you know how many scholarships you get at the Division I level for a basketball team?
12 or 13?
13.
Yeah,
13. 13. Do you know how many scholarship players K-State has right now?
I believe it's 8.
8. And no one else can enter the portal now. It is just the guys who are already in there. So the pickings have slimmed down a little bit. So two of the top targets, the two top targets for K-State, both committed elsewhere this weekend. The first one was Cliff Amori, the big man from Rutgers, arguably the best center in the portal this year. We had talked about him a bunch. I am not quite as broken up about this one. He ends up choosing Alabama over K-State, UNC, and Georgetown. Allegedly, the rumor is that the school that lured him into the portal originally was not even in his Final Four. That was St. John's. And then better programs came along, and he said, oh, well, screw you, Rick Pitino. I'm going to go elsewhere. So he ends up at Alabama. I'm not super surprised by this. I think most K-State fans, not to speak for you guys, but I feel like that's a similar kind of take from this. There was no buzz between him and about him and K-State after his visit. And great to be in the top 4, but once he took those visits to both Alabama and North Carolina, it felt like K-State was not going to be in play here.
Yeah, it definitely felt like they were always going to be not handed the rose. Like it was going to be, it was not going to be them. Great thought. I think he's a good player, and he certainly fits the mold of the players that K-State has been recruiting both for their team in the last 3 years and in this current transfer portal, which I'll expand on that point in a bit after we get to the other big decision this weekend. But no, that one doesn't feel as much of a miss as Khalif Battle.
And positionally, it's tough because K-State needs a center, like really badly.
They absolutely need one more big man, probably 2.
Yes, I would agree with that. But that one, okay, it is what it is. Then Khalif Battle. I've also heard his name pronounced Khalif. I'm not sure which it is. I was assuming Khalif. He, depending on who you ask, if you are deep in K-State Twitter, you may have heard this weekend that was a done deal, because I sure saw a lot of that, and I thought, I don't know. The Tim Fitzgerald over at Go Power Cat, who we'll talk to coming up on Wednesday, his staff was very intentionally not making any declarations about how this one was ending up. And despite a lot of momentum that he was going to commit to K-State, he ends up committing to Gonzaga yesterday. To me, even though this isn't as big of a need as center, K-State could use a multi-level scorer, and that is what Battle is good at. He can shoot a little bit. He can get to the rim. He can pull up and shoot. By everything I've read, not much of a defender, just not his thing. Decent effort, but just not good on defense. But his scoring ability would have been really nice, especially if you're not bringing back Arthur Kaluma. And especially if you thought this one was locked down, even without buying into some of the rumors that this was effectively a handshake done deal, I thought this one was going to happen. I thought Battle was going to end up at K-State. And at the very least, even if you say, hey, we still need a couple of big men, you say, hey, look, we bring in a guy who can score at 3 different levels, a guy who's got energy, he can bounce a little bit. We'll take it. That's essentially your 1-for-1 with Arthur Kaluma. He's a little bit smaller, but that's probably the connection you pair there. You lose him, and now that's your top portal target again going elsewhere. You're left with just 8 guys on the roster right now and a slimmer group of players to pick from. That one hurts. I don't really have a silver lining for that one. Amori probably wasn't going to happen anyway. This hurts. That's a swing for the fences and a big whiff.
Yeah, they really could have used a guy who could be your no doubt starting 2 guard next to Doug McDaniel. And if you're going to start 3 guards next year, maybe next to Brendan Housen, maybe next to David Castillo. I don't know. That McDaniel Castillo is pretty small backcourt. So I don't know that's part of the plan there. And it is in line with K-State wanting to get veteran guys who played a lot of college basketball. Battle having 1 year of eligibility left, having played a lot for Arkansas last year. But Battle's recruitment stood out to me in contrast to the other transfer business that K-State has done. They've got 4 guys in from the portal already, right? Doug McDaniel, Brendan Housen, CJ Jones, Baye Fall. What do all 4 of those guys have in common?
They've got multiple years of eligibility.
Multiple years of eligibility. Thank you for picking up what I was putting down. This
trying to count the number of letters in each name. Like,
so I saw this on Twitter that I think it's 23 who entered the portal did so with their COVID year. But those guys are disproportionately, like when you go and you look at like the best transfer portal players, like the top 50 guys in the portal, the top 100 in the portal, disproportionately are veteran guys.
Yes.
Right. Like 6 of the top 10 players in Evan Miyakawa's transfer portal rankings were guys with 1 year left.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of attention paid to that. And I think Kansas State still should be on the lookout for some veterans to bring in. But I do think that K-State's transfer portal strategy outside of Khalif Battle shows that they are, yes, trying to build a roster through the portal with experience, but they're trying to thread that needle between experience and years of eligibility left. And that's a really tricky thing to do in the portal. It'd be a lot easier if they just said, hey, look, we're going to get young. We're going to go, we're going to fill some needs in the transfer portal, but we're going to be a young team again next year. We're going to be a team, we're looking at this as a 2-year project or a 3-year project with this core group of guys. Or to say, hey, look, we missed a tournament last year. We got to get better in a hurry, and we're going to do that with a bunch of 23, 24-year-olds. Looks like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too a little bit, and they haven't been able yet to find that veteran player. Now, there's still a lot of guys still out there in the portal. Maybe not as many of those veterans. Maybe not as many of those top 20 or top 50 ranked transfer portal guys, but there are still a ton of guys out there in the portal. I am not all of a sudden concerned that Kansas State's going to turn up with 9 scholarship players for an entire Big 12 season. That's not going to happen. But we are running a little short on guys who are difference makers, and certainly Battle could have been that for this K-State team, and it hurts to miss out on him.
I have a question I want to pose to Dan. You said you're not out, but when it comes to what the team's going to look like, 9, you think they're going to get some guys. Do you think that they're going to be where they want to be next year in the tournament, in the NCAA tournament?
I think it depends on who those guys are, right? If they just fill out the roster with JUCO guys and, the one kid they get every year transfers in from Manhattan Christian, then no, that's probably not going to be good enough. But if they're able to go get, a big guard with some scoring ability, if they're able to go out and get at least 1 more, if not 2 more big bodies to rotate in the post so that you're not leaning so heavily on Baye Fall as a true sophomore, and you're not having to play David Gasson 30 minutes a night at the 5.
5, yeah.
They need 1 or 2 more guys there, veteran guys, even if they're just the caliber of a Will McNair. I think that's we had our fun with Will McNair last year, but Will McNair played pretty well down the stretch, and there were times where he was what they needed in a certain matchup.
Fitz shouted him out a bunch down the stretch.
Yeah. So, if they get a player of that relative skill set, and then they get another big guy and 1 more guard who can score it a little bit, then I think they'll go into next year in pretty good shape. But I don't know if there's a Keontae Johnson just sitting out there waiting for K-State to add that's going to really raise the ceiling of the program for 2024-25. And I don't think, to be fair, I don't think Khalif Battle was that either.
No, I don't think so. I think the offensive skill set for Battle would have been a plus. I don't want to ding that. I feel like that this transfer class that they are bringing in is good but missing something. Doug McDaniel's your starting 1, and he's a good player. That's a big win. I like Brendan Housen. He's got one very specific job. He has shot something like 8 times as many threes as he has 2s in his career. He averages 7 points a game. Or 6 points. He is a very clear, specific, probably bench defined role. CJ Jones he's a depth piece. That it is what it is. You need those guys. You have to have good depth. Go ask Kansas if you have to have good depth at guard, right? You need to have those guys. Who am I blanking on? Who I haven't added yet to the portal class?
CJ Jones?
No, I just mentioned Jones.
Fall and
Baye Fall, right? High upside, super high ceiling, floor also probably fairly low, but the ceiling super high. So you've got all these different pieces, but it feels like you are kind of missing a centerpiece. This past year, Tyler Perry was that centerpiece guy, kind of a unique one because he was smaller, and it didn't really work out because he was played out of position all year by necessity, but that was sort of the centerpiece of the whole thing, especially after you didn't get Max Asmus. Obviously, it was Keontae Johnson the year before that, but even Keontae, you can look at, we landed Keontae Johnson. Let's not forget the fact that the previous time that Keontae Johnson stepped on a basketball court as an active player prior to suiting up for K-State, the man nearly died. Right. Okay? It's not like Keontae Johnson was Hunter Dickinson in the portal where you knew, oh yeah, this dude's 20 and 10. No doubt star right away.
That's a good point.
No, we didn't know for sure that he was going to be able to play 30 minutes a night. He nearly died. Like, that's the kind of thing you're dealing with in the portal. It just feels like K-State's group this year is like one away from, because like 24/7 has K-State as a top 15 portal class this year. They've got a lot of highly rated dudes in the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it just feels like a lot of role players, like good role players, guys that fit a good role. And I think McDaniel's better than that.
They don't have a centerpiece. Like the roster as it stands
much more
doesn't
concise,
have
yes.
that. Like, I like Doug McDaniel. I don't know if Doug McDaniel being your best player gets you the NCAA tournament.
I think he's better as a second option.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the best teams normally have you have a good combination of guys you rely on to be the number ones and the guys you rely on to be the number twos.
But there is a lot of dust still to settle on this. And K-State fans, I think, would be wise to remember that there is a lot of dust that still has to settle. There are a lot of guys out there who still do not have homes, and there are opportunities at Kansas State that maybe don't exist elsewhere that might be really attractive to a player or two that we haven't even thought of yet.
Well, and to that point, real quick, we have to get to a commercial here. One market, and Kevin Sweeney, who writes about college basketball for Sports Illustrated, he put on Twitter today, of the top 200 transfer players in Evan Miyakawa's rankings, only 36 remain. 164 of them have been signed so far. However, that means JUCO, which you mentioned, prep recruiting, which if you want to talk about long-term, K-State has one high school recruit for this year. It's David Castillo. That's going to open up international prospects. I have no idea what kind of ties to international programs the K-State staff has. Absolutely no idea. What I can tell you is Illinois signed a 7-footer from Croatia today or yesterday. 7-footer. I think K-State can use a 7-footer even if they're a raw prospect right now. Yes, those dudes are out there. Johnny Furphy signed in like late June for KU last year.
And we had no idea. We'd never heard of that guy.
Until April. It was like, yeah, this guy with a funny name from Australia is going to get a visit.
Considering Kansas.
Is going to do a Zoom call with Bill Self. Like, oh, okay. Does that mean anything to me? Then all of a sudden he ends up being a key player.
Yeah.
Those, again, maybe K-State has no connection. I truly have no idea. But that is some other option out there. Those guys exist. There's good ball in Europe, okay? Really good ball out there. Try the NBA International Academy. Who knows? Coming up next, I saw an interesting prompt on Twitter. I want to get your guys' opinion on it. Coming up on 580 Sports Talk. Before we wrap up this 2 o'clock hour, I wanted to bring this question to you guys. I saw it on Twitter a little bit earlier this afternoon. This is from the Cyclonator on Twitter. He's an Iowa State fan. You could probably guess. Besides your biggest rival, in his case, it was Iowa, but besides your biggest rival, who are teams, they've said this for college football, but I think we can expand it to other sports. Who are teams you would not mind seeing be horrible consistently? So, like, I would not pick Missouri or the Minnesota Vikings. Spencer, maybe not pick another team from the NFC East. Dan, you can't pick Dick Montfort. Aside from your biggest rival, who would you always like to see be bad?
Which teams across college and pro sports
Any
would I
sport.
like to see always be bad? That's
Like, Texas is near the top of the list for me in football. Like, it's just so funny that
I've got
team
a
is
couple.
so bad.
West Virginia,
okay.
Okay.
because they give too much crap about being the big brother,
Okay, fair enough.
and it just gets old and old and old and old.
Sure.
UVA, as a Virginia Tech fan,
Okay.
and then the Patriots,
Okay. That's good. They were good for too long.
because they were too good
They
when
need
I
to
was
be
a
buried.
kid.
All
Like,
right, I like
they
that.
were the team. Like,
Yeah.
nobody could beat them.
I respect that.
I'd say the San Francisco Giants.
Who is the Rockies' biggest rival other than themselves?
Themselves. No,
Yeah.
yes, themselves. No, I really don't have one. You have to be good to have rivals. They're not good. So yeah, I'd say the Giants. They're my biggest rival personally.
I would say in college, for me, Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
Because Marshall and Western
Personal
Kentucky had a
rivalry there.
big
Yeah.
rivalry there.
So essentially, this is what team that isn't a rival do you still just not like?
Yeah. Which team do you think it's funny if they're always bad?
Yeah.
Like Michigan State.
That's a good one.
Michigan State doesn't deserve good things.
The other college one for me is North Carolina basketball. I hate them. I hate them so much. I don't like Roy Williams. I don't like North Carolina basketball. I don't like anything about them. I hate Sean May. I hate the way that he dresses, the way that he walks, the way that he talks. I hate all of it.
That's a throwback.
Raymond Felton, send your address.
From the Top State Mail Supply text line, 2 outstanding answers from the 785. 1, Ohio State. That'd be so funny. Like,
Yeah, that's a good one.
they've had like 1 year with it, the Luke Fickell year where they went 6-6.
Mhm.
Every other year they've been like world destroyingly great.
Yeah.
Like since Jim Tressel, basically.
There would be a civil war.
It'd
Like
be-
Ohio would fall into the hands of the rebels if that happened.
It would be nice to see them fall down a peg or two. Also from the 75, the Dallas Cowboys. And
Yeah, we have one of those on YouTube as well.
yeah, I don't know why. Like, I honestly think the current state of the Dallas Cowboys is much funnier than imagining the Cowboys as a team who was just horrible all the time. I think it is much funnier that we go through the same, they're 7-2, we them boys, and then they lose in the first round of the playoffs.
Just constantly banging their head on the glass ceiling.
That's
just nonstop.
That is so much funnier to me.
Yeah, that's a good one. Also have the Yankees from YouTube, a couple of different entries there for the Yankees. Yeah. If you're a Royals fan of a certain vintage, you might consider the Yankees your biggest rival.
Yes.
You really might.
You came of age in the late 70s. Yes, you have never forgiven Chris Chambliss. And I want you to know I was not alive for that, but I hear you and I respect you.
Yeah, that's a good one. Watching them be legitimately bad a couple of times recently has indeed been very funny. Coming up in the 3 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk, we will hear from Andy Reid. I think we'll hear from Xavier Worthy as well. Matt Verderame will join us. Plus, we will recap the entire weekend with the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll take your YouTube comments, your texts to the Top City Metal Supply text line. It's all coming up after the news on 580 Sports Talk. it's the 3 o'clock hour on a Monday afternoon. This is 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. He's Dan Lucero. He's Spencer Dupuis with you until 5:30 today. Off a little bit early. The Royals have moved up first pitch against the Milwaukee Brewers due to the potentially impending severe weather across our state and area today. So they will try to get their game done, or at least a full official game, 5 innings in today before the Storms arrive. So we're out of here at 5:30. Still plenty to get to on the show. If you've missed anything, you can go find the YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. You can just rewind the stream and catch up at your earliest convenience. It's a very easy way to see the video and check out the show. You can also check out the podcast page on our website, 580wibw.com. Head on over to podcasts, hover over that menu, and then click on 580 Sports Talk. We'll hear from a couple of Chiefs here in just a second. We'll also recap the weekend with the good, the bad, and the ugly. And Matt Verderame from Sports Illustrated all going to join us here in this 3 o'clock hour on 580 Sports Talk. We'll talk some more Royals baseball a little bit later on today. We'll hear from some other Chiefs rookies later in the show. Got our 580 Sports Talk headlines, what is wrong with you, and much more to get to. You just heard it from Jennifer Naramore and the Capital Federal Weather Center a few moments ago. I do want to advise you, being a little jokey with the weather for the Royals game today, but we are in line for possibly some more severe weather across the state today. I know some of you are listening from all across our beautiful state, as well as down in northern Oklahoma as well. Saw Jim Cantori, the legend himself, put on Twitter today some of the highest, like the projections for where we could get severe weather, like as stark and as like highly elevated as he has ever seen. So please be prepared. Obviously, we just went through this west of the capital city this past week. Please be careful. Get to, lower rooms of the house. Don't go out if you can avoid it. Stay away from trees. All the weather basics, please. Today.
Obviously, I'm new to the area.
Yes.
Am I wrong in saying maybe I've just been so out east that I haven't visualized the Midwest? Is this like so far the strongest tornado season?
It has
the
been
area, the region has seen?
It's been a while. Having lived in the state since 2013, I'm hard pressed to remember. And that's not to say we haven't had outbreaks of severe weather here and there, but as far as the start of a severe weather season, this is probably as active of one as I personally can recall. And I've lived I've lived across the state. I've lived south. I've lived northwest. I've lived out here for the better part of the last decade and change now. And so, yeah, what you are experiencing, Spencer, is probably a little out of the ordinary, just as far as the frequency of the severity of it.
Spencer, you're being blamed for it, by the way, on YouTube.
Why would I not?
You brought it with. JB asks on YouTube, would any of you go storm chasing? No.
Yeah, that's going to be a no from me, man. I got a little too much respect for Mother Nature.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'd be really cool to do, but I wouldn't do it.
I
respect these people for doing it, and I think it'd be a cool job, but not for me.
The adrenaline that comes with it, I'm sure, is off the charts. But I'll ride a roller coaster or watch a playoff hockey game. I'm good.
I've seen Twister twice, even.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's a new one coming out.
Yeah, they're it's like a remake / sequel. Bill Pax is no longer alive.
Yeah.
Which is very sad. But so you can't really do a sequel. But I'm not going to be in a hurry to go and see it again. Lot of respect. I remember when I was a kid. I want to say this was 1990 or 1991. I grew up in Colorado, as most of you, if not all of you, know. The town of Lyman, Colorado, was leveled by a tornado.
Yeah.
And it was either 1990 or 1991. And I remember the news reports, and I remember seeing the pictures of what happened to Lyman, Colorado. And that instilled in me a healthy fear of tornadoes specifically and severe weather in general.
Yeah.
So I don't mess with it. But we do have one listener here from the 785 who says this is the most active storm season that he can remember to this point since 1991, and they are a lifelong Kansan, texting the Top City Metal Supply text line.
All right.
So, yeah, just that makes me feel a lot better, too. Thank you for confirming my suspicions.
All right, let's get to some Kansas City Chiefs football, shall we? Andy Reid spoke earlier today as minicamp gets underway with the rookies. Let's hear from Big Red and what he had to say earlier this afternoon.
All right. Good to have the rookies in here. I thought they did a nice job. It was good work, good introduction to these guys. Some of these guys.
Are we on? Are we on? Okay. All right, go ahead and fire away.
All right. Good to have the rookies in here. I thought they did a nice job. It was good work, good introduction to these guys. Some of these guys have been traveling all over America, so they haven't done a whole lot of football up until this point. So it was good to get them back in the swing of things, and so they could see, see what kind of pace we go at. Anyways, with that, time's yours.
Andy, what's your first impression of Xavier out there?
Yeah, I thought he did a nice job picking things up and working through. We asked him to do a whole lot of stuff there. He was putting most of the primary spots, so it was good for him to get in there and move around a little bit.
He seemed to be picking up stuff okay so far.
Yeah, sharp kid. Yeah.
That's kind of part of what this weekend's about, right? Giving these guys more than they maybe can handle and see what they can do.
Yeah, sure. And then you wait for to see how they retain it when they come back, and then things obviously are even a little faster when you get back in here.
It sounds like we had a pretty good visit with Kingsley when he went in here. Since he called you uncle. Does it give you a little bit of a different feel for having a guy that's shares your background and coming from BYU and everything?
Yeah, well, listen, I know a lot of his family, and he's a local kid there, so it's a close-knit group up there, just in general with BYU, and so I understand that part. But when you're here, then it's work. He knows that, and there's no favoritism. So you get out, and it's equal opportunity for everybody. And I was proud of him how he worked. He came out and worked hard and did a nice job of learning. So, yeah.
What's your connection with BYU now? Well, Edwards is gone. Obviously, everybody who was there when you were there is gone. What's your connection with BYU?
Yeah, so I've known Kalani for a number of years. Kalani played there, and then Tom Homo and I were teammates, and I coached Chad Lewis. These are all the assistant AD, and Lee Johnson I played with and coached. So, I've got that connection. I mean, there are a bunch of other people. So, and I've gone back, back up there. My son was a strength coach up there too. So.
An investment in offensive linemen too, with CJ back there along with Kingsley. Just what have you seen from them, just in your observations that's impressed you? The tape in college, how does it match up with what you've seen in person?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I'll be curious to see when our other guys get in here. I mean, we're not going live, so I've got to see. And there's no run game. We're not doing that against each other, and so you're not going to see that going on. But I liked what I saw from what I saw. It's got to be one of the better offensive line groups, young offensive line groups that we've had in here. It's just collectively. So.
And you say all the time you love being a teacher of football, but it's not every day you're teaching a guy who's never played the sport at any level. I'm like, how exciting is it to try to get him involved? And obviously this is your first chance really seeing him in a full sort of football context here.
Yeah, sure. No, this was good for him, this camp, for that reason, that he got a lot of reps. When the guys are here, he's rotating in with those guys. He didn't get a ton of reps there, but this gave him an opportunity to really jump in and learn. And he's so diligent with everything and wants to be so good at everything. And that's, I've appreciated that. And you can see the progress he's made. You guys saw yesterday with the long run he had on the screen. So he's I thought he was going to dive in the end zone, but other than that, he was good. That's all right. He did good.
You ever played club rugby when you were younger? Do you know the game at all?
I've watched it. I haven't played it. No.
His speed kind of jumps off the page at you, but are there little things that he needs to work on, whether his running style looks a little bit different, holding the ball looks a little different? Are those techniques that he's supposed to work on?
Yeah, he's done a good job of working on holding the ball. They do hold a little bit different, bigger ball, and not quite as pointy as a football. So he's done a good job with that, working that. He'll learn the pad level. The first time he gets hit, he'll be able to adjust where he's at there. But I like the fact that he's got shorter steps initially. That's a good thing as a running back. If you're a long strider in there, you got to really work on making it through those tight adjustments that you have to make. So he seems to have a nice feel, though.
What was your initial impression of Wiley and kind of just considering that's opportunity here with playing Bell no longer here at that third position?
Yeah, I liked what I saw. Big kid, could change direction. He was a good blocker in college, so we'll see how that transfers. I thought he caught the ball well for the most part, and retained information. So I thought he did a pretty good job there.
Andy, wonder if you could backtrack to this time last year. You're getting ready to kind of OTA and some of the bets come in, obviously. Is there something about the tone that was set this time of last year that you thought was pretty effective? Well, there's some
Yeah. So I would tell you they came back with a purpose last year, which is important at this time of the year. As simple as that sounds, with all the time that you've got before the season starts. And I tell you, they had the same thing this year. They were, maybe it's because they were away from each other in phase one and other teams were together and they saw that. But when they got back, they were working fast and hard and aggressive, and or as aggressive as you can be in this camp, but aggressive, working to get better on the things that they need to get better at.
We'll go last few, Adam, Blair, and then Todd. Go ahead, Adam.
Andy, I wanted to ask you about Carson Wentz. And ever since Pat's been here, you've had a guy, a backup kind of toward the end of his career in that spot. Not that Wentz hasn't played a lot, but he's maybe in a different category of those other two. Is it maybe less important to have a guy in that room with Pat that doesn't have all that experience? Is that less important?
Yeah, I still like having that. I thought Blaine did a nice job when he was here last year. Carson, I know, did a nice job when he worked with the Rams. Had a nice game actually for him right at the end there. But I welcome him in. We talked to him last year when we were talking to Blaine, and he was holding off for an opportunity possibly to start. So, but it was good to get him in this position. And if he has an opportunity to play, he has an opportunity to play. But we'll just see how it goes. But he's really handled it well since he's been here. He's a good football player. I like him.
Blair, and we're going to get a chance to talk to Phil Brooks again, I guess. Just your thoughts on him, and what does it take for a guy in his position to make an impact?
Yeah, just probably reps and time. Just give him. The more you get, the better you're going to get. Familiar with all the calls and all the looks that you're going to see, and that's probably the most important things. I'd not tell you that really for all of them.
You guys aren't working on this stuff on the field yet. You probably won't really be able to do it until training camp. But the new kickoff rule, what's your background study been like? How much more time are you guys spending on that? Just trying to maybe guess what it's going to be like when you get there on the practice field, affecting your roster as well.
Tobes jumped right into it. So he's worked with the guys, and we can only use bags, so it's we're not. But at least you get an idea of angles, distances, what the kickers have to do, so on. So, but he jumped right in with it, and it's obviously going to take some time to learn, and there's no better time than right now.
It's an unknown, but you like the idea of the rule?
Yeah, no, I do. It's different, so I'm not afraid of changes. Never really have been. So this is different. It looks like it's going to be exciting. I'm fired up to see how it looks, as long as it goes in our direction.
Thanks.
All right, good day. Yeah.
So that's Andy Reid speaking a little bit earlier today. Let's get into some of the rookies. We'll hear from Kingsley Suamataia as well as Jared Wiley in the 4:00 hour. But how about one of the newest Chiefs pass catchers, the first-round pick, number 28 overall, Xavier Worthy, the Texas product. What did he have to say in his first appearance at the podium for the Kansas City Chiefs?
Xavier, what's just the past week been like?
It's been fun learning the new offense and seeing how they run stuff and just getting the flow of things.
What stands out about what you've seen in the playbook so far?
It reminds me of a lot of Sark's playbook, so a lot of similarities, just a lot of different names to it. So it's going to be fun to just play in this offense.
Before we get next, I've got to ask you, you've got a couple of viral just pictures or whatever floating around the internet, but you're coming from Texas, now you're in Kansas City. your thoughts, your honest thoughts on the Chiefs locker room compared to Texas.
I knew that question was going to come. I ain't gonna lie, that picture was kind of just misinterpreted. I wasn't looking at the locker room no way. I don't really care about the locker room. I'm just here to play ball.
It's one of the things that now that you're a professional football player, there's the NFLPA does these polls and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about the facilities here, maybe not up to, but when it's a real recruiting tool when you're in college, right?
Yeah, I feel like the only reason why college facilities is like that is to get players to be like, oh, wow, this is what it's like, but it's really not that. It's still the same thing as NFL, but it's just more like toys in college versus NFL.
You moved to a lot of positions in Texas and played every spot pretty much. Here, you'll probably do the same thing, but a lot of the Z spot. What makes you like a good Z receiver? How do your skills really fit that spot?
To answer that, I really feel like I can't just answer like just a true Z receiver. I feel like I played every position in Texas. I really played mostly X in Texas. So just being able to have that versatility and play everything, I feel like it just doesn't limit me to any position.
When they drafted you, what were the expectations that they said that they wanted from you or expected you, and what are your expectations of yourself coming into the stuff that season?
The expectations of me was coming in willing to work, and I feel like whatever they need me to do and whatever I have to do, I'm gonna do it just to get on the field.
But what's your expectation for yourself?
Oh, I always to play and be the best me. That's just my expectations.
Xavier, you told us on draft night you had yet to talk to Patrick. We had a chance to talk to him between the draft night and obviously today.
Yeah, I talked to him, connected with him a little bit. He was excited about me coming into the camp, just learning the offense and getting a little feel, getting my feet wet on the offense.
And I know you were obviously thrilled to be paired up with Andy, given you have a lot of trust that he's going to use you the way. But what does it say that, Pat was scouting you along with the rest of the Chiefs before obviously getting the phone call?
It's amazing just to be able to have that quarterback that wants you. So that means they're obviously going to try to find ways to get you the ball, make you a part of the offense. So that's just a huge part of it.
You scouted them too, didn't you, a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Shoot, anywhere with a quarterback, I feel like that was like my main spot. Pat just obviously was like, I feel like everybody would want to play for Pat, just how amazing quarterback he is and how personal he is.
Along players you caught up with? Any other Chiefs players you caught up with? Just the expectations and going through everything that's involved in the case of you?
I really haven't connected with a lot of them like that. Pat was probably like the main one. Trav reached out to me and congratulated me and things.
Along with working with Patrick and Andy, it seems that you and Hollywood Brown have a lot of similarities too. Have you studied his game at all?
I watched a little bit of Hollywood, but I kind of watched like guys like kind of older, like D-Jack and, a little bit of Tavon Austin in college. So just little people like that.
What do you take away from Deshaun Jackson? Because Andy said that was kind of the comp for you.
Yeah, just his punt return and his ability to make a play after the catch and how he understood the leverage for deep routes. So I feel like he had really good leverage. I think he has a record for longest touchdown. So just his ability to understand leverage on deep routes.
Xavier, a lot of people have talked about your weight, not super heavy, whatever. What are you weighing in at here? What do you want to weigh when you play in the National Football League? Has it ever been an issue for you? You ever think you're too small when out there playing in college, taking big hits or anything?
I weighed in at 169, but I don't think I took big hits. I delivered them. But no, I feel like it's not going to be a problem. I feel like just understanding your strengths and your weaknesses, I feel like that's the big thing in the league. Don't obviously try to go hit a 215-pound linebacker. So just understanding your weight, understanding your strengths, like I said. And D-Jack was obviously, he came in the league 169 and understood his strengths. So just using your strengths to your strength.
Greg Beach mentioned to us on the draft night, maybe they'll get some nutritionist or whatever, maybe try to get a little bit of weight on you. Have they told you maybe what they want you to play at, or are you comfortable here?
No, I feel like I know I'm gonna play at like around 175, 170 range, so I'll be fine.
Understanding you're just getting started here, is there something you want to accomplish in this camp this weekend?
Just establishing the playbook, getting a firm understanding on the playbook, and just so I know where to line up come training camp. Just I'm already affiliated, know what I'm doing, know I'm lining up, and know what plays from there.
Is there anything special you brought from home that makes Kansas City feel like home to you now?
True. My feet and my heart.
Have you had a chance to get acclimated in Kansas City, try some local barbecue spots yet?
Try Q39. It's fine. It's fine.
You were number one for a long time. What's the significance of that?
So in high school, I wore number one my junior year, and that was like kind of like when I started popping out onto the scene. So number one kind of just been my number after that. So I just wanted to take it with me everywhere I went.
I know you got the sleeves on. Look like you got a new tattoo.
Yeah.
Can you share that with us? And what went into when you get that so quickly?
So sure, I got a lot of tattoos. I got a full sleeve, and I left that spot open. So wherever I got NFL right on top of it. So wherever I got drafted, it's just my tribute to where I got drafted. My love. They gave me a chance. So wherever I got drafted, whoever gave me a chance, I'm tatted right there. First round, 25th.
That's pretty cool, actually, the new tattoo for Xavier Worthy. That is the Chiefs' number 1 pick from this year's draft, Xavier Worthy, speaking this weekend at rookie minicamp. The big thing that came out of this, I know it got aggregated all over Twitter. Do you have any concerns about him playing at 169 pounds?
I don't think he's going to be at 169 pounds if he keeps going to Q39.
Yeah, that's true.
I think he's living in a good city. If he wants to firm up a little bit, put on a little weight, take him to meet Arthur and Jack and all the rest.
Oh, yeah. Man, Xavier Worthy, if you would like to be introduced to Joe's Kansas City Barbecue, I will take you. Hit me up. I will happily take you there. I will introduce you to the Z-Man myself.
It has been too long since I've been to any of the places that we have just mentioned. It has been
so good.
Far too long.
They're putting up a Q39 in Lawrence.
No kidding.
Yeah. So it's going to cut your drive in half to go get it.
I will be there no matter what.
He'll be there for the grand opening.
Hey, look, more barbecue closer to us is all good with me. For what it's worth, he was talking about how Xavier Worthy, really has watched a lot of Deshaun Jackson, which if you want a good Andy Reid receiver to model your game after with speed and that body type, he is the prototype. Deshaun Jackson's playing weight and height, 5'10", 175. Xavier Worthy already has an inch on Deshaun Jackson. He measures at 5'11", just a couple of pounds lighter. You add a couple of pounds, you're going to be just fine. 169 is a little bit light. You add a few pounds, I think you'll be fine.
Too. I mean, he might be a little lighter right now because of all the training that he was doing for the draft and everything.
No, that's a fair point. Guys will do a lot to their body and their weight getting ready for the combine. I'm not worried. He's not a tight end, right? He's not going to be banging over the middle. This is an outside.
I don't know.
guy.
Didn't he say something about giving more hits than receiving in college?
Hey, look, if he wants to play that way, I'm all good with it.
If that's his attitude, fine. But they're not going to send him to the middle of the field running slants like he's Michael Thomas, into the teeth of strong safeties all over the league. Like that's not his role, man. I think he can play at 170, 175 and just be the fast guy. And I think that's probably a good weight for him.
We'll talk some more Chiefs football and the rest of the NFL when Matt Verderame joins us here in about 8 minutes. First, though, we have to get to a quick break. Then we'll recap the weekend with the good, the bad, and the ugly here on 580 Sports Talk. Time to recap the weekend. A quick edition of the good, the bad, and the ugly here on 580 Sports Talk. My good racing this weekend. The Kentucky Derby photo finish. That was a thriller. Andy Weingarten knows his stuff because he had a couple of picks that were right there at the top. Shout out to your guy, Mystic Dan. Also, the NASCAR race at the Kansas Speedway.
Took a little extra time.
Closest finish in NASCAR history. Pretty impressive. So a couple of photo finishes on the track this weekend.
My good is that I won the Kentucky Derby. Congratulations to me. I ran a great race. I won by a nose. Great shout out to my handlers, my jockey, everything. I won the Kentucky Derby. You want to say Andy Weingarten knows the stuff. I had all 3 podium horses nailed exactly correctly.
There you go.
Wow. Only because Mystic Dan and I have the same name. Let's be honest. There was no real foreknowledge going on there.
Hey, a win's a win.
Yeah. Or would have been if Kansas would have let me bet on horse racing.
Spencer, what's your good for the weekend?
Well, my good and my bad are connected, so can I just do them together?
Do them both.
All right. So my bad was what I was feeling last week got a little worse over the weekend.
Okay.
But it gave me time to plan some things out. Another bad was the initial plans that I had when I went home here in a couple weeks for Memorial Day weekend. Those are kind of falling through. Some of my buddies are unavailable. They got family stuff going on. But
family
going to the Nationals game with my my family on the Saturday that I go back.
Nice.
And it's a bobblehead night.
Hey.
So I'm coming back with a new bobblehead.
Who is it?
It's the Lane Train bobblehead, Lane Thomas.
Lane Thomas. There you go. My bad. Stop raining, please. I just finally got my lawn to be dry enough to mow. It was so overdone. It took me so long I had to break it up over 2 days. Please stop raining. I am begging you. Do not. I had to cut it the highest setting my mower can go. So it's barely even short. Stop raining so I can get it short, please.
My bad is that look, we got to be honest with ourselves, man. Like Anthony Edwards has been great through 5 games in the playoffs. He was awesome game 1 for Minnesota against Denver, scored 43 points. He's not Michael Jordan, man. We got to stop. We have to stop. I understand that the media is very desirous that an American basketball player be the best basketball player. I get it. The last 5 or 6 years, that has not been the case. The best player has either been someone who was raised in Africa or someone who was raised in Serbia or someone who is from Greece. We haven't had the best player in basketball be an American for a long time. Stop comparing Anthony Edwards to Michael Jordan. He is not Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan. There are no other Michael Jordans. Stop doing this. Otherwise, you're going to sound really stupid when Minnesota ends up losing this playoff series.
For the record, Anthony Edwards also said, please stop. Quote, I want it to stop. He's the greatest of all time. I can't be compared to him. I appreciate the humbleness.
Yeah.
Relative humbleness, anyway. But yeah, that's a media creation. You got to stop with that.
Please stop.
We all know Michael Jordan's real son is Jimmy Butler anyway. Spencer, do you have an ugly for us?
Yes, my ugly is that Netflix. I get what you're trying to do with your.
Is this the Tom Brady roast?
Yeah. Well, no. My ugly is that I couldn't watch it because you have to be with you have to be in the household. So me and my girlfriend split Netflix.
Oh.
And it was on my TV for like a couple weeks after she had come here and left. And then on Sunday, when I, decided to click over to start this roast, it said, sorry, you're not in the same household. And I was like, but it worked literally the last 3 weeks. Like, I don't understand. So I had to see clips on social media, which make me really want to watch it.
I had a good weekend. I didn't have an ugly.
My ugly was the umpiring at the end of game 1 of the K-State KU game.
Yeah,
game one. Tyson Neighbors got the strikeout he deserved, but it should have been on the pitch before, not the 3-2 pitch that was way outside that could have tied the game. Really poor umpiring, kind of marred game 1 of that highly competitive and very entertaining series. K-State taking 2 out of 3.
We've got to get to Matt Verderame. He'll join us next here on 580 Sports Talk. Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline is our good friend Matt Verderame, covers the National Football League for Sports Illustrated and SI.com. He is also the host of the Matt Verderame Show on Patreon and That Football Show over at the KC Sports Network. Follow him on Twitter as well, at Matt Verderame. Matt, how was the weekend?
It was good. It was good. How was yours?
It was nice. It finally was dry enough for me to mow my lawn, but we're going to get more rain today, and I'm extremely mad about it to the point I've now brought it up 2 segments in a row. How nice was it to not have the draft or any other major event to cover for the first time in a long time?
It was wonderful. That being said, speaking of cutting grass, yesterday I just made the entire day about landscaping, and despite the fact week, yesterday it was like mowing a prairie. It was unbelievable. I don't think I've ever mowed that much grass in my life. So like now that I'm looking out at my lawn as we speak, like I'm satisfied but also furious because it took 2.5 hours when it should have taken like 50 minutes. So in that case, look, maybe the rain's a good thing. You don't have to go outside and mow. If your lawn's like my lawn, what felt like the Great Plains.
Yes. No, it felt exactly like that. I was just telling the guys I had to set my mower to the highest setting possible just to even get it to cover the whole lawn. So I'm right there with you. I'm extremely frustrated, even though it's done now.
It's really one of those things that you think in your head, you're like, man, when this is done, I'm going to be happy about this. And then you're halfway through it and you're like, you know what? I don't need a lawn. I'm just going to pave over it. I don't care. Like, I play pickleball all the time, and I was like, you know what would be great in the lawn? A pickleball court.
No,
so I never have to do this again.
Just let nature reclaim it for the pollinators and turn it into a nature preserve. I've tried to sell my wife on that idea. She's not biting.
Yeah, no, it's just the worst. I mean, like, thankfully for me, the Knicks play tonight, and they didn't play yesterday. Because if it was yesterday, I would have left that lawn half cut. It's like, I'm done with this. Game 1. I don't care. Somebody can steal the lawnmower for all I care. Take it. No, Knicks are on tonight, so I dodged that bullet.
How are you feeling about your Knicks after that big win against the 76ers?
Good. I was catatonic after Game 5. Like, I can't even explain. It must have been like how Bills fans felt after that 13 seconds game, except like this didn't eliminate the Knicks, made it go on longer. But I stared at my wall for like 90 minutes after that game. And I'm not kidding. Like, that's not even a slight exaggeration. But they took care of business Game 6. And, look, they should beat the Pacers. It's not that I don't respect them. The Pacers can shoot. They can score. They're great in transition, all that stuff. But, like, the Knicks are a better team. If the Knicks beat Philadelphia, the Knicks should beat Indiana. I would argue Philadelphia has 2 better players than anybody on Indiana with the way Halliburton is currently playing. So, they should win, 5 or 6 games, but, it's the Knicks. So I'm always terrified that like something horrible is right around the corner.
Well, Matt, let's get to the NFL now with the draft in our rearview window. I wanted to ask you about something we talked about on the show a bunch last week, and that is the idea of the Chiefs adding a veteran wide receiver. And it's not for reasons that have come up the last couple of years where you got to have someone to throw the ball to. We have seen the Chiefs literally reach the highest peak in the sport, in all of American sports, with a crappy wide receiver room, all things considered. This year, you bring in Xavier Worthy, even if you don't have Rashee Rice for a while, you've still got a decent enough room. I am of the belief, though, and I know some folks on Chiefs Twitter are in this camp too. Why not? Why not add another weapon? We've seen what they can do, what Patrick Mahomes can do with bad receivers. What if you added even a decent veteran? DJ Chark is now off the market, but, even though he'll only play 8 games before getting hurt, Michael Thomas is out there. There are other guys who are out there. Hunter Renfrow is out there. He's a possession guy, but he's a decent NFL wide receiver. Where do you land on that? Would you be in favor of the Chiefs using a little of their open cap to just add a veteran because why not?
I'm fine with it. Like, if they want to do that, look, they have the cap space. There's $16 million in cap space. That's fine. Like, if they want to do it, they certainly can. I'm not in the camp of, like, they better do it. They have to do it. Like, I thought Tyler Boyd would have been a good addition, but at this point, it's not going to happen. It doesn't seem so. Here's what I think is reality with the Chiefs. And I think it's going to be a talking point all throughout the first half of the year. I'm sure we'll talk about it. And then as the second half of the year goes on, it's pretty clear to get better. I think the first half of the year offensively, they're not going to be that good. And people are going to lose their minds because Rice is probably going to be suspended. Worthy And I went over this on my podcast on Patreon. I went over this throughout the show this morning. Like, if you go back and look at Tyreek Hill's snap counts early in his rookie year, he barely played on offense. If you look at Rashee Rice's snap counts on offense, first 8 weeks of last season, I won't say he barely played, but he was nowhere near 50% of the snap. Xavier Worthy's probably going to follow suit. Like, that's just what the Chiefs do. Now, with Rice, if he's suspended, that does complicate it. Maybe the Chiefs are like, look, we kind of have to play him a little bit more, so we will. I don't think they will. I think you're going to see a ton of like Justin Watson. People are just going to lose their minds because they're going to be, oh my God, why is he playing 50 snaps? And then I think Rice is going to come back and Worthy's going to play more. In the second half of the year, they're going to score 33 points a game. And people are going to go, oh, well, then now they're back. I wouldn't mind it if they added a guy like Michael Thomas and just said, look, who cares if he gets hurt after 8 games? What does it matter? But they don't seem to be in a rush to do it. And my bigger concern is the back end of the depth chart with Moore and Tony. Like, why are either one of these guys at this point still on the team? So there's just Moore. I kind of get it. He's Chiefs, the second round pick. Why is Kadarius Toney still in Kansas City? Like, other than one punt return in the Super Bowl, what has he ever done that you're like, that guy's going to work out this year? I just don't see it. But the Chiefs apparently aren't ready to give up.
Matt Verderame is our guest. He covers the NFL for Sports Illustrated, also the Matt Verderame Show on Patreon, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Do you think there's any chance that they move on from one of those guys, Matt, or does it feel like they're nailed on?
I mean, I think there's a chance, like, if they get to camp and like one of them's just terrible, then yeah, maybe. Sky Moore, I think, is safer. He's a second round pick. He's making no money. Like, I could see the Chiefs just being like, look, you know what? Just keep him on the roster. If something happens to break our way, that's great. If it doesn't, all right, kind of quietly move on after this year. Like, I'm not surprised he's back. The Tony thing blows my mind. You know, say whatever you want about Sky Moore, and God knows I've said plenty about Sky Moore over the last 2 years. But, like, Sky Moore doesn't create problems. Other than the fact, I mean, he does on the field. He hasn't been very good. But, like, he doesn't create distractions. He's not difficult to deal with. Kadarius Toney was a storyline going into the Super Bowl last year because he couldn't get off Instagram Live. Like, and that's something that the Chiefs are very non-tolerant with in some ways, with guys who aren't like star players. I mean, Tyrann Mathieu used to be on Twitter all the time, but like, he's a star player. It's a little different. Kadarius Toney, I just thought kind of wore out his welcome. Like, at the end of the year last year, if you had said to me, what are the odds he's back? It was 5%. And they did decline his 5th-year option, predictably. But, like, I'm surprised. Like, wouldn't you rather at this point just have Cole Hardman on the team? Not that Hardman's got some huge upside, but, like, I got to tell you, but Cole Hardman has been infinitely better as an NFL player than Kadarius Toney has. Like, Hardman's had real years, 600 receiving yards. He made a Pro Bowl once as a returner. Like, Kadarius Toney's done nothing in any capacity for any length of time to make you think like, oh, this guy should be on the team this year. So that's my bigger concern. Like, if Rice is suspended and somebody gets hurt, you're back to the same thing. You're back to, you know, Kelsey, one receiver, and a whole bunch of guys. That would be my bigger issue.
Matt Verderame joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. You can find Matt's work at sportsillustratedsi.com. You can hear him on the Kansas City Sports Network and the Matt Verderame Show on Patreon, which you can find via his Twitter at Matt Verderame. Matt, Chiefs rookie camp underway. What, to your mind, is the biggest, most important takeaway from rookie camp to date?
You know, I always say, like, with rookie camp, and really even with OTAs, mandatory mini camp, like, you got to take all this stuff with a grain of salt, good or bad, because it's just, like, it's football, but it's not really football. And I know there was, like, the first day Xavier Worthy had that drop that was on Twitter. People just lost their minds. And then the next day he had a good day and everybody was like, he's back on track with Jerry Rice. Like, look, I think from what you hear, you know, Wiley seems to have played well. Worthy seems to have bounced back from kind of a so-so day one and played much better the last couple of days. I am really interested, though, in the corners with this team because nobody develops them better than the Chiefs. And you look at a guy like Kamal Hadden, who had a pick in Monday's practice. You look at this kid, Miles Battle, who went undrafted, was a receiver at Ole Miss. Then he became a DB there, transferred for his final year in college for 6 years because of the COVID year. Went to Utah last year. Like, Miles Battle's 6'1", almost 200 pounds, and runs a 4.340. Like, that's the kind of guy with the Chiefs that you read all the scouting reports on him, and it's like, yeah, look, he's just not really a corner yet. He doesn't have the technique. He doesn't have the footwork. And it's like, yeah, that's the Chiefs look at that and they're like, that's fine because we'll coach him. I'm very interested to see. You know, the depth chart is okay. Obviously, with McDuffie, you have Watson and Williams, but then you kind of have this open question of like, well, who's going to be the fourth guy? Who's going to be the fifth guy? Is it Najee Johnson coming back? Is it Jones one of these guys? 7th round pick a year ago? Is it one of these kids? I'm very curious because they have a type. McDuffie is ironically the one guy who doesn't fit the type, but they have a lot of guys who are longer guys, physical, athletic profiles. I'm very interested to see how that plays out as we go into the later spring and then into the summer.
Do you get the sense that it is likelier than not that Kingsley Suamataia has the inside track on the starting left tackle job, or do you think that's going to be something that takes a real long time to kind of decide, might even go down to the wire in preseason?
I think it's going to be a battle. Well, I really do. I don't think it's just going to be, Suamataia is a 2nd round pick and he's going to get the job. Wendy Morris was a 3rd round pick. So it's not like you're dealing with some kid who was like a 1st rounder and undrafted free agent here. I think the one thing that helps Suamataia is he probably has the better athletic profile. He's probably like, if you just looked at like building a guy in a lab, not that he's perfect, but like you probably build him, you wouldn't build Morris as much. That being said, Morris was up and down. He had good moments, he had bad moments last year when he played, but he wasn't a disaster. You didn't watch that kid and go, oh my God, he just can't play. He was pretty solid. Like when he played against the Bills, he was really good in that game. He got beat by Max Crosby. Great. Join the club. Everybody gets beat by Max Crosby. So I don't know how much to hold it against him. But I think he's been in the offense for a year. That does help him. Like he's played NFL games. That helps him. I find that to be easily, not even close, the most fascinating roster battle, depth chart battle in training camp. I mentioned the corners. I think that's fun to watch. That's more about depth. Jaden Hicks is another one. Like, how the hell do they get that kid on the field? They could be like a linebacker playing safety. But that's more depth. Like the left tackle spot, obviously, is an enormously important position for him.
We're joined by Matt Verderame on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. And Matt, you've had a week to think about this draft class, and one of the glaring needs when it comes to depth and a guy to challenge somebody on the roster that they didn't get in the draft is running back. What's your take on them not drafting a running back and the guys that they have that they brought in as UDFAs?
Yeah, they brought in a couple of UDFAs. They still have Prince, who was on the practice squad a year ago. McKinnon's still a free agent if they want to go back that route. I think that's just going to be another one of these, like, hey, look, let's play this thing out. Open competition. I think the one thing with the Chiefs is, I cover the whole league for SI, even though I'm close to the Chiefs because that's where I grew up a fan of the team, started covering them when I was coming up. But like, when I'm sitting here looking at these other teams in the NFL, including like some really good, there are 4 or 5 battles in training camp. You're like, that's an important battle. That's really interesting. We're sitting here with the Chiefs, and other than the left tackle, you're like, man, wonder who corner 5 is going to be. I mean, they're so far ahead of most teams. I think Deneric Prince might be the guy. Like I said, maybe one of these UDFAs, or maybe they get a look at these kids for 3-4 weeks. Like, all right, let's give Jarek a call. But other than left tackle, you go into camp with the Chiefs, and you're like, I don't know, what's the biggest concern on this team? Who the second string long snapper is? They're stacked in a way that most teams just can't even dream of being.
Matt, finishing things up here, we've got just about a minute, but I wanted to get your thoughts on something that your coworker over at Sports Illustrated wrote. Albert Breer, in his draft takeaways and recent NFL news takeaways column, had a blurb in there about Kirk Cousins and the fact that one of the reasons why he didn't want to go back to Minnesota was they told him, hey, we're taking a quarterback one way or the other, only to then go to Atlanta where they took a quarterback unexpectedly in the top 10. I can't think of a bigger kick in the you-know-whats recently than that situation unfolding for Kirk Cousins.
Oh, I think most people in the league feel like they basically neutered him. I mean, he's screwed before he plays a game in Atlanta. Because if Penix goes out there in training camp and plays well, you are absolutely going to have people on that team that are like, why do we have Kirk Cousins? Like, we could have had Penix and 40-some-odd million in cap space. Like, why is he here? And then what happens with Cousins? Like, if Cousins has a bad start to the year, if he's coming off the Achilles, then what? Does everybody want Penix? Well, you can't play Penix because Cousins has basically an uncuttable contract for 2 years. What if Penix comes in and plays 2 games because Cousins rolls an ankle and he's really good? Then what do you do? Where do you go? You know, I mean, I got to like that to me. I don't care what the Falcons say. That is one of the most short-sighted decisions I can remember in my short time anyway covering the NFL. That is, you are setting your coaching staff up, the roster up, the locker room up for just divisiveness. Now look, if Penix just flat out can't play, then okay, there's no divisiveness, but then you just blew a first-round pick. So it's very bizarre. I don't want to hear the idea that there's comparisons with Smith and Mahomes. I've seen people, right? Like, Smith was gone after that year, and Smith was not looking at 180 million incoming. Like, it's a very, very, very bizarre situation. It's not going to engender a whole lot of goodwill with Kirk Cousins.
Go check out all of Matt Verderame's work covering the NFL at Sports Illustrated and SI.com. Check out the Matt Verderame Show on Patreon and also that football show over at the KC Sports Network. He joins us every Monday at this time to break down the NFL via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. We appreciate it as always, Matt. Best of luck to your Knicks this week.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
That's Matt Verderame from Sports Illustrated joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. What a ridiculous draft pick. A truly ridiculous draft pick. I'm still not over it over a week later. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk, we'll get to a little Royals baseball. We've got today's What Is Wrong With You. We'll also get to Jared Wiley and Kingsley Suamataia, 2 of the other Chiefs draft picks, and why one of them, to our good pal Jesse Newell, has really stood out at minicamp so far. We'll get to all that, plus your text and YouTube comments in the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. Hey now, just past the halfway mark of this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis, all here with you today. We're done at 5:30 because the Royals are starting their game a little bit earlier than previously expected. They are going at 6:10 tonight instead of 6:40, trying to beat some severe weather. So we're out of here at 5:30 for Royals pregame coverage on the Royals Radio Network, right here on 580 WIBW. In this 4 o'clock hour of the show, we'll hear from the Chiefs rookies in a little bit, Kingsley Suamataia and Jared Wiley. We have today's What Is Wrong With You, and we'll talk some Royals baseball here in just a second. Keep sending your texts in on the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. No more wasted money and no more wasted materials, because with Top City Metal Supply, they cut the exact lengths of steel, stainless steel, and aluminum you need, tailored to your project's specifications. Find them on South Topeka Boulevard here in the capital city, just north of Forbes Field. You are also welcome to join us on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk. That is the easiest way to find us. Make sure you subscribe while you are over there, and then you can jump in and comment along and watch along with the show today and every single day that we are live, which is every single day for 580 Sports Talk. The Royals will be in action against the Milwaukee Brewers, who are two of the three teams that received A grades from ESPN in their month of April grades that came out last week. We broke those down on the show. Brewers have been good, better than I expected them to be. I have said that about the Brewers, I think 3, if not 4, if not 15 years in a row. They've been quite good to start the year. The Royals, however, also far above expectations to start the year. And according to Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic, the Royals were also at least briefly in the mix in the Luis Arise trade that went down this weekend. The Marlins, for some reason, trading Luis Arise, their leadoff hitter and starting second baseman, to the San Diego Padres for a group of prospects.
Would you like to hear the reason? The reason that the Marlins traded Luis Arise?
Yes, please.
The Marlins stink.
Well, yeah, they're bad.
That's the reason. They are, I think they're 10-26 now after this weekend's action. Not the worst team in the National League. It doesn't matter who's worse, but they're not the worst, but they're pretty bad. 10-26. They can't see the postseason from there. It's pretty clear that last year's playoff appearance was a fluke generated by some better than expected results in one-run games.
Mm-hmm.
Also, their entire pitching staff got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks grim for the Marlins in the short term. And with Arise 2 years away from being out of arbitration years and hitting free agency, Marlins decided to make the move right now.
Which is something you can do, sure. I understand the business side of it. I would probably lean toward keeping some of my few good players so there's actually a reason to come out to the ballpark, but
it's the Marlins.
Yeah.
Nobody comes to the ballpark anyway. The only time they ever came out to the ballpark was when they were either winning World Series or when Jose Fernandez was pitching.
Florida baseball is a failure. It's a transplant state with two teams that no one wants to go see.
I feel like you say that about a lot of sports in Florida.
The only one, so I don't know what the Lightning and the Panthers are like. They've had tons of success. I don't know what the attendance or fan bases are like.
I just feel like people say that about the Heat, even when they were good. Though.
No, the Heat, I think
the midweek games nobody was going to.
The Heat and the Dolphins are the two teams in that market that I think have a legitimate, and the University of Miami have like a legitimate, long-standing, die-hard fan base.
I think the Heat, when they were the Heatles, they definitely had an influx of Johnny-come-lately fans. Definitely. I mean, we all remember the scene from, what was it, Game 6, 2013, that would have been? When Ray Allen's 3, when everyone tried to get back in the building and they couldn't get in. I think the Heat fans that remain are pretty stalwart fans. And the Dolphins have had fans because they were first. They were there before anyone else.
You have that advantage.
Native Floridians had a team earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're in Florida, you know who you're a fan of? The Chicago Cubs. Or the New York Yankees. That's who you're, or the Mets. That's who you're a fan of if you live in Florida.
This is maybe my most Colin Cowherd adjacent take, but I think he's right when he says that warm weather cities just don't do diehard sports fandom, because there's a bunch of other stuff you can do instead of spend $25 a seat to go see the Marlins go 67 and 95, even if you're sitting inside to do it. And the same goes for the Rays, even though the Rays have actually been good. They have a front office that knows what they're doing. They know how to put together a winning team. The Marlins have never had that. The Marlins had a lot of money spent to build that 97 champion. It was immediately dismantled. I think they went like 51 and 111 the next year to completely tore that team down. 2003 was kind of an accident too, and they didn't follow that up with anything. And went to the playoffs last year. It looked like, hey, maybe they do know what they're doing. And then they fired the general manager, or the general manager left of her own accord, depending on who you ask. But
she left on her own accord because they screwed her over.
Yes, that's probably the most realistic telling of things. So, yes, the Marlins, I've long believed, are not a pro sports franchise so much as they're a Ponzi scheme. Maybe if Miami's baseball team had a front office with a clue and had built a year-over-year contender, more people would go to the brand new stadium and support that team. But I don't know. We have no idea what it looks like.
No.
Like long-term sustained success for the Marlins.
They have been to the playoffs 3 times in franchise history. They won 2 World Series.
Yeah.
And the other year was the COVID year, which was fake and doesn't count.
And last year.
I guess they did make it last year. You're right. They've won 3 playoff series ever. And 2 of the years when they've done it, they've gone to
the only years that they,
it's
when they did it. Yeah.
Utterly ridiculous. But the Royals were in the mix on this trade. Here's what Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic wrote about it. At least one other team, the Kansas City Royals, was in contact with the Marlins about Arise last week, according to Major League sources granted anonymity for their candor. Those talks never advanced beyond the preliminary stage. The Padres' pursuit of Arise dated to the offseason. The Mariners also restated their interest then. In the end, Peter Bendix, their GM, determined he could not, quote, walk past the San Diego offer. So there's a couple different ways that you could read this here. One is that the Royals were genuinely interested. The other is that the Royals were, to use a quote from other sports as well, the team with interest. My favorite football team, the Green Bay Packers, they have often been the team of interest with free agents. You know of other teams like this, the team that always is in the mix, the general manager that's always in the mix. Maybe that's what the Royals were in this situation. I choose the former. I view this as the Royals actually showing legitimate interest in what it would take to get Luis Arise, even if the conversation did not get past the preliminary stages, as Ken Rosenthal reports here. And to be frank with you, I'm glad. Not that the Royals missed. I'm glad that they were interested. Yeah. I think it is good for this franchise to get to a point where it says, you know what? What would it take for us right now to be better? And I don't mean better as in, like, we're better people who go to church and don't watch porn, like a Dayton Moore team. Like, are we a better baseball team today? A team that is closer to hoisting the Commissioner's Trophy today than we were yesterday. I think J.J. Piccolo, since taking over full control of baseball operations prior to last season, I think he has operated more in that mindset, and I think he and Matt Quattrero are very aligned in that regard. And I appreciate that about this Royals team. I don't know that this would have been completely smart, but here's the thing. The Padres gave up multiple prospects and guys who probably have some kind of major league future, but they also didn't exactly get rid of, like, the best prospects in baseball. If you're the Royals, they say, hey, we need 3 prospects to get this done. If I'm the Royals, I say sure, because I don't have a lot of prospects I might want to keep anyway.
I guess the question for the Royals is, if you get a player like Arise, like, he's won the last 2 batting championships. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not going to say, oh, he's actually bad. That's not where this conversation is heading. Hit 354 last year. It's one of the most unique offensive skill sets in baseball. There is only one of this guy when it comes to what he does offensively.
Yes.
He's not a power threat. He's not a speed guy. He just gets base hit after base hit.
Total
after
throwback
base hit.
Player.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he doesn't strike out. Like, you talk about, the Royals letting one get away yesterday because they couldn't put the bat on the ball and drive in a run or move a runner over when they needed to in the 8th inning or the 10th inning. You never have to worry about that when Luis Arise is at the plate. Luis Arise is going to get that bat on the ball.
You know what's funny? He is pretty much the anti-3 true outcomes player. He does not strike out. He does not walk. He does not hit home runs.
Yeah, he hit a career high.
He doesn't do any of it.
He had a career high 10 home runs in 147 games last year. Like, he is never going to be. He does not have a home run this year. he's got 24 career home runs in 571 games. This is not his stock in trade.
Yeah.
But again, back-to-back batting titles. Like, it is so rare. Usually you think about a player who just gets single after single. You think of a guy like Ichiro, right? Like, but Ichiro was fast. Luis Arise isn't fast.
No, he's not.
Like, he just hits them where they ain't over and over and over again. And he's done it often enough that you don't feel like, is this kind of a fluke? Or, yeah, he had a really good year last year, but can he keep doing it? Yeah, this is what he does. This is who Luis Arise is. He is a one of one. The difficult thing about him is he doesn't really have a position. That's a little less difficult nowadays when everybody can play a DH. But Luis Arise is a below average defensive second baseman. Like, he is a better offensive player than Michael Massey, like by a lot, but you're also giving back some of the run prevention and not a little bit of the run prevention either. You're giving back a good bit of the run prevention. We wouldn't play first base if the Royals acquired him because Vinny Pasquantino is the first baseman. Could he play left field potentially? Like, that's kind of where the Royals are struggling right now, is in the outfield. MJ's been in a funk. I still don't think you bench MJ Melendez. I think you play him in left field. I don't think Luis Arise is really cut out to play right field. Like, that's the spot where you'd want to replace an outfielder right now if you're the Royals. But back to your initial point about how JJ Piccolo has evaluated things since becoming the general manager and just how the Royals look at how they've started. This is a sign that they don't view their start as a fluke, that they have looked at their roster and said, hey, we are playing well enough to justify making some phone calls and trying to upgrade this team. It's also a good sign in the sense that they have looked at their team and said, yes, we have room for improvement. Yes, it's wonderful that we're 20-15. It's wonderful that we're in the mix in the American League Central, but it doesn't mean we're perfect. It doesn't mean that we're the best version of ourselves that we can possibly be, and we would do well to go out and get a player. It is very rare for anybody, not just a player of Arise's caliber, to be available in the trade market on May 4th. That stuff doesn't happen.
No.
But for the Royals to have been a player in it, now, again, this is where some of the lack of depth in your farm system comes back to haunt you a little bit. The Royals don't have the depth in their farm that San Diego does. That's why the Padres have been able to make trade after trade. That's why they go out and get Luis Arise and give up their first-round pick from last year and give up the Arizona Fall League MVP and give up an imported reliever from Japan that they thought was going to make their opening day bullpen and might have, if not for a spring training injury, and feel okay about doing it in the same offseason where they traded a bunch of prospects for Dylan Cease. Right? Like, that's the level of depth that the Padres are dealing from that the Royals have not accumulated to this point. And it makes it easier for them to make a trade like this than it would be for the Royals to be able to match. Like, you don't want to trade Blake Mitchell if you're the Royals. He was their first-round draft pick last year. First of all, he was drafted 16 spots higher than Dylan Head, who went from the Padres to the Marlins in the Arise trade.
Sure.
So, more valuable prospect, but also, like, one of your very best. So, I'm not surprised the Royals didn't make that move. I think it would have been a bit of a tougher squeeze to find a place to play Luis Arise. I don't think he's a second baseman, and you're not going to play him at first, and I don't think they're going to play him at left either. You should probably get him to DH. Like, how many prospects do you want to give up for a guy who's going to DH, even if he's this good, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that they had the interest at all shows that they're buying in on this start while still understanding that they can still improve the team on the margins.
That was going to be my thought, is although they may not have the resources to make these trades, it's good to see that they're in on them at some level to know that they think this is a good team that needs a little bit of improvement, maybe to go win another pennant.
Yeah, and I just appreciate the fact that they are willing to make those improvements and ideally take risks to make those improvements. Maybe it shouldn't be considered a risk, but the Royals spend as much in free agency as pretty much anyone not named the Dodgers this year. And so far, it has, I would say, worked out. Shoot, if nothing else, Seth Lugo has worked out, and that's been a huge win.
Yeah.
For no other reason. That is a big win. I appreciate that. And more and more, I am just coming to grips with the fact that I actually have not said enough bad things about how Dayton Moore ran this team. And really, I did not dislike the Royals. I disliked Dayton Moore and everything he did to handle his business, because I appreciate that this team is being run like a team that is trying to win baseball games right now.
Yes.
Because it was not. The rebuild 2018 through 2023, I'm going to throw in last year. If you want to cut it off and say just 22, that's fine. That was not being run like a team that had any sort of belief, yeah, we're going to get back to contending. We're going to get back to being a playoff team. We are going to be progressive about it. We are not going to let contention come to us. We are going to go out and do something about it. Signing Lugo and Waka, and I mean, Waka struggled recently. Will Smith in the bullpen has not been good. Renfroe has not quite panned out, but we are going to go make moves to get better. And I appreciate that. I am glad the Royals are doing that because there aren't enough teams in baseball that are doing that. The fact that the market inefficiency is trying is really embarrassing for professional baseball in and of itself. But that's an opportunity for a team like the Royals to give out mid-level contracts, mid-level free agents, guys who are going to raise the floor of your team, because they haven't had that in years. We talk about the floor raisers and the ceiling raisers. Royals haven't added floor raisers. They've just added Jags for years. Like, Michael A. Taylor wasn't doing anything to raise the floor or the ceiling. He was just a guy you could hit eighth and play in center. Yeah. Like, nothing about your franchise changed by adding a guy like that. I don't mean to pick on Michael A. Taylor, but like, those are the kind of signings that token, oh yeah, here's a free agent. Like, that's what the Royals had done for years. This year it was,
we have to have 26 guys because that's the requirement to have a Major League Baseball team.
Yeah.
Instead of, how can we field a 26-man roster that competes?
Yes, totally different. And I think by showing we are interested in Luis Arraez, we are interested in a guy who right now has a higher career batting average than Michael Massey has career on base percentage. We are showing that we are willing to look at options that can make us a better team, even if it's not a perfect fit. What are the options out there to make us better?
I like Michael Massey. I think he's a good defender. I think he's got a little bit of power potential. Is Luis Arraez a better player right this second? Are you a better team with him at second base every day? Even if you had to include Michael Massey in a trade to get him? Yeah. I mean, we're speaking now firmly hypotheticals now, although you never know. The Padres are 18 and 19. They could be in mid-July, 10 games out of first place and decide, you know what? We got to strip mine the big league roster and rebuild our minor league system. It would not be the first time the Padres have done that, have pivoted from the offseason from April to July. Remember the year they signed Matt Kemp and Craig Kimbrell, and neither of those guys were on the team by August 1st?
I do.
God, the Padres are such a joke. Anyway, like, you don't know necessarily who's going to be available. Arraez was the first name, but there's a lot that has to play out between now and the trade deadline. But at least you see that the Royals are evaluating this is what we need. And yeah, they need one more consistent bat. Absolutely. Right now, they're in third place in the American League Central by percentage points. They're game back. They're one more win, one fewer loss than Minnesota, who just had their 12-game winning streak snapped. They're 2.5 games behind Cleveland. The Guardians keep doing it, and credit to them. Their best player, their second best player. Their best player is still Jose Ramirez. But the guy who'd been playing the best for them this year just went on the injured list, Stephen Kwan. And it sounds like that's going to be a while. So
didn't they just call up one of their top prospects?
Yeah, but if first baseman. I don't think that's a needle mover the way, like, Stephen Kwan is a dude. Stephen Kwan is a Gold Glover. Stephen Kwan was hitting like 370. Their depth, as we mentioned, already a lot to Shane Bieber for the season. Like, I look at Cleveland and see a team doing it with mirrors more than I look at Kansas City and think the same.
Interesting. We have a comment here from Jayhawker on YouTube. It says, it's amazing Perez and Witt are hitting the way they are with the rest of the team, not able to hit double-A pitching, no one to protect them in the order. Which, to me, if you want to take the more cynical view of it, tells you a lot about how far this team has come, that despite the fact that there are a number of guys going through slumps right now, they're still winning enough games to be at the, in a competitive window in the American League and in the American League Central.
Yeah.
Which is a major positive. The team has taken big strides, and for as critical as I've been of the Royals and the Royals franchise for years, I am very appreciative and very happy that they have made these strides to be a more respectable team. Royals baseball coming up tonight, 6:10 first pitch, 5:30 pregame here on 580 WIBW. We will hear from some Kansas City Chiefs later on this hour, but first, today's What Is Wrong With You? It's coming up next on 580 Sports Talk. Time for the first What Is Wrong With You of the week on 580 Sports Talk. Our first full week of What Is Wrong With You, in fact. Hopefully we get one in on Wednesday to make it a true full week. Royals have a day game on Wednesday, 1:10 first pitch against the Brewers. I will go first today with our stories, and we are headed, you'll never believe it, to Florida, where an accused burglar ran right to a police officer looking for help after a failed robbery. Terry Jennings of Pompano Beach, Florida, was arrested back on April 29th, according to a statement from the Coconut Creek Police Department. Coconut Creek, that's a real place. Arrest records are short on details about what unfolded in the alleged exchange with the police officer, but the cops say that the 24-year-old man saw a parked squad car after fleeing the scene of his own crime and came running up to him wanting help. Quote, the officer quickly determined the man was running away from a resident after the resident found him trying to break into his home in South Creek. It's a rare case of when a suspected thief runs to instead of away from a police officer. An arrest affidavit alleges that Jennings also entered an unlocked car that same day in a gated community and removed a wallet from the center console. Why are you leaving your wallet in your center console? The wallet had just $20 cash, the victim's driver's license, and a, quote, association ID. Terry was later found in the backyard of a resident to have the victim's driver's license and $20 bill in his pocket after being detained by police. He was unable to explain to police why he had those items in his possession. Police say they were helped in part by a woman who told police she had spotted Jennings on home surveillance cameras trying to break into her car, even though it was locked. He was charged with 4 felony charges, including unarmed burglary of an unoccupied dwelling or structure and attempted burglary. He is still in detention at the Broward County Jail.
That person whose house he broke into must have either had the heater or must have been big enough to be considered a physical threat.
Mm-hmm.
He had no idea whose house he was breaking into. He ran to the cops. This man is going to hurt me. Help me. Help me. I've made a mistake.
What are you helping from?
Take me to jail.
Oh, you're going to jail, sir.
Sir, I'm being chased. Oh, why?
I did not know.
This is not time for questions.
I did not know who I was messing with. Man, he's just like Drake, for real. I did not know the threat.
We'll have to talk about Drake later.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it'll come up before the show is over.
Yeah.
So that is our first story today. Dan, what you got?
We're staying in Florida. We are going to Boca Raton, where 2 South Florida teens accused of trashing the ocean have turned themselves into authorities. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission confirmed 15-year-old Charles Ruth and 16-year-old Michael Kirby surrendered to the Palm Beach Juvenile Detention Center to face the consequences for actions captured on video that went viral. The teens are facing charges of causing pollution so as to harm or injure human health or welfare, animal, plant, or aquatic life, which is a 3rd-degree felony.
Jeez.
They were caught on video dumping 2 full garbage cans full of trash into the Atlantic Ocean as they were on their way out of the Boca Raton Inlet. You can see the video. They are gleefully emptying these 2 like a trash can.
Full-size trash can.
Full-size trash cans of trash straight into the ocean. Probably trash from an unsanctioned event out in water called Boca. Unsanctioned water event. Inside the bins were and bag here to celebrate.
Thank you,
What a
Wavy
name.
Boats. Very cool. These kids are losers.
And just taking your boat out just to dump trash into the ocean is some of the all-time most entitled behavior that I've ever seen or heard of. The quote here from Seth Stern, who's the videographer for Wavy Boats. I don't want to see a 15 or 16-year-old go to jail, he said. These spoiled little rich kids should do some community service. I think hundreds of hours of cleaning the beaches they so carelessly destroyed would be a perfect ending to this.
No, they should have to go find the trash at the bottom of the ocean. You have to go find all the water bottles you just dumped. These kids suck.
Yeah.
They shouldn't say that about kids, but these kids suck.
15, 16-year-old, and that's what, like, where
you
are the
should
adults
know
here?
better at 16.
I charge the adults. The adults took him out on the water, right? On the boat. I charge the adults.
Yeah, why aren't they being charged? This wins. This is bad.
Yeah.
Statement from the 15-year-old Charles Ruth's family. We take the responsibility of caring for our oceans and our community very seriously. We are extremely saddened by what occurred last weekend.
Lie!
We want to extend our sincerest apologies to everyone who has been impacted and rightfully upset by what occurred. As a family, we agree with Florida Wildlife Commission Commissioner Rodney Barreto that this is a teaching moment for the young kids involved. If you're like, when I was 15, I was beyond the lesson, don't litter.
Yeah, here's what you're going to learn from this lesson. Juvie ain't fun. Lock them up.
Scare straight right there.
Yeah, get these kids out of my face.
Yeah.
Enjoy Juvie.
Juvie's too good for him. I want Gen Pop for these kids.
Gen Pop.
Don't litter.
Fish can't read your statement, bucko.
Like, just
go apologize to that nurse shark over there. See how they like it.
Like, I get it. It's not fun to take out the trash. I do it frequently, probably every other day. Got to take a trash bag out of our kitchen and take it outside to our trash bin and then take the trash out to the corner. Our trash day is Monday. Got to take the trash can out every Sunday night. Make sure that it's not a fun chore. You got to wash your hands after you do it. I get it. Dump it into the damn ocean?
This is the most, I don't even think of taking the garbage out as a chore.
You live in Florida. That ocean's going to reclaim you and your home very soon. You better respect it.
These people suck. These parents suck. This wins, but no one wins. Losers. Hope a shark jumps up on their boat next time.
Paul calls them the garbage pail kids in the YouTube live chat. That's a good line.
That is very funny. I want to know what Boca Bash is like, though.
The unsanctioned.
Yeah, unsanctioned
event.
Unfortunately, if you Google Boca Bash, you just get the story of these idiot kids and their
Boca Bash littering
dumb
footage
parents.
go viral.
I want footage of Boca Bash itself.
Don't forget your floaties. See you in 2025. They've got a Instagram account, looks like, at the Boca Bash.
Oh, good.
The one party you shouldn't miss. The last Sunday of April on Lake Boca.
All right, well, I'm going to dive into this. We have to get to a commercial break. The Garbage Pail Kids, they are our winners today.
I wouldn't
losers,
go,
really.
I wouldn't go to the Instagram page. There's some thongs. There's some thong situations going on at the Boca Bash.
Not on the work Wi-Fi.
Not on the
All
work
right.
Wi-Fi. No.
Coming up next, we will hear from Kingsley Suamataia as well as Jared Wiley, a couple of the Chiefs rookies here on 580 Sports Talk. I can confirm Dan's report from the end of What Is Wrong With You. The @the Boca Bash Instagram page is indeed a thong situation. Barely. I sound like I'm 100 years old. Brendan, Dan, and Spencer here with you on 580 Sports Talk. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Let's get to some other Chiefs who spoke this weekend at rookie mini camp. Why don't we begin with Jared Wiley, the tight end, 4th-round pick for the Chiefs? Our pal Jesse Newell from the Kansas City Star said on Twitter yesterday, Wiley has stood out most among skill players the last 2 days, in my opinion. Also added that Xavier Worthy looked much better on day 2 than he did on day 1.
Saw that I think his first attempt at a catch was a drop off his hands.
It wasn't great, but room to grow. You're gonna love a quote here. I think we have it in this cut from Jared Wiley. He played quarterback in high school, then transitioned to tight end when he got to TCU. Very funny story about how he started that. But he said, I always catch passes because when I was a quarterback, I hated when my receivers would drop them. So I can respect that from Jared Wiley. So here is what the newest Chiefs tight end had to say this weekend.
Jared, what were the expectations that the Chiefs coaching staff gave you when you were drafted, and what are the expectations that they have for yourself going into the season?
Yeah, as far as the coaches, just get in here and learn the offense as fast as possible, and be a key contributor on the team, however that looks, whether it's special teams, offense, whatever they ask me to do, I'll do it. My expectations of myself are basically that I want to come in here, I want to get comfortable, and I want to learn the brand and style of football that they play here in Kansas City, and I want to be able to do that to the best of my ability.
Have you had a chance to talk with Travis and try to see when you all can link up and try to, steal some knowledge from him?
Yeah. I'm planning on, being able to see him soon. Right now is just, get in and, like I said earlier, just learn the offense as much as possible, get as comfortable as possible right now before I, have to worry about a whole bunch of other stuff down the road.
Jared, you moved from quarterback to tight end. Obviously, there's a lot of guys that have done that, but can you explain what that process was like for you going through it the first time, and what do you love most about playing the tight end position?
First off, that transition, it was a little bit tougher because I played quarterback in high school, so I never really experienced college football, and then they were like, "Hey, you're going to go play tight end." So that was a little bit different. A lot of run blocking drills. A lot of practicing went into it. My favorite thing about tight end is just I feel like it's, aside from the quarterback, I feel like it's the most essential part of your offense. We're asked to do everything, whether it's in the pass game or in the run game and pass protection. So I kind of like having that. I guess having that kind of pressure or weight on my shoulders a little bit. And I like, just being able to prove to myself and to everybody else that, I'm completely capable of doing that.
You had another transition going from Texas to TCU. Tell us what that was about, because your production certainly increased at TCU.
Yeah. Just opportunity, honestly. There was a lot of changes going on at Texas whenever I was there. 3 different offensive coordinators, 3 different position coaches, 2 head coaches. Like it was something different every year. So, I kind of wanted to, just get a fresh start and go find some stability somewhere. And I happened to find it at TCU.
Do you feel like having that quarterback background helps you understand the passing game better than you otherwise might have?
Yeah, I would say it's helped a lot just learning the playbook. Just studying, especially in this offense. Everybody's expected to know every position. Just being able to learn that and kind of figure out the concepts and everything like that. I would say that it's helped quite a bit.
You mentioned you've had several different coordinators and head coaches in a couple of different schools. Do you think that will help you in the transition to be able to adapt and learn whatever?
Oh, yeah. I've had to learn 5 different offenses while I was in college. So this is my 6th one in 6 years. So it's part of my normal routine now, I guess. So I don't think I'll have much trouble with it.
So how did it actually work when you physically get the playbook? Was that like yesterday when you guys got here, or did you get one before? And what's your study habits and your study patterns to learn this one?
Yeah, I got to talk to some of the coaches a little bit yesterday about it. But as far as my study habits and stuff go, just draw whatever the play is. Normally teams will give you like drawings or whatever. You draw those on your own sheet of paper. And then if I can, I try to get a script or whatever for practice, and then I go in and write whatever I have on it. And then stuff like walkthroughs and everything like that, that helps a ton too.
Sure, you already had a conversation with Pat.
Yeah, very briefly, he just told me congrats on getting drafted. That's really all that it's been so far.
Was that over just the weekend that you did get drafted, or just in this ensuing week here?
No, yeah, he called me after the draft, probably like 20 minutes after I got drafted. Just told me congrats and everything like that.
And then what's just the last week been like for you? I mean, is this like the realization of what you long wanted to do? Like, what's it been like this first week of being a professional?
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. I've worked. Everybody in this building that plays has worked their whole lives to be where they're at. So, just getting a chance to do that at a place like Kansas City, I'm super blessed.
What's it like when, your dream to do this and it's real? You get picked, and they call you and say you get picked. But how much more real is it when Patrick Mahomes is on the phone with you talking about it?
Yeah, it definitely hits a little bit more whenever something like that happens. But I would say just being here, that's probably the most real that it's been. Since I got drafted to now, it's just been like, oh yeah, I'm going to Kansas City, like I'm going to be a Chief. And then now I'm here and I'm like, okay, like I'm really in here. I'm really doing this. So I would say that it hit probably yesterday.
Yeah, Hunter mentioned the bus ride in, you see the stadium and kind of gets reeled in.
Yeah, definitely. You see the huge stadium with all the seats and everything. And it's, I've never seen it. So, in my opinion, it's the coolest looking stadium if you're looking outside in. So, just doing that, you're kind of starstruck for a minute. And then you have to realize, you're here for a reason. So then it's you shift your mindset into, all right, now it's time to kind of get back to work.
Guys, have you ever been to an NFL game as a fan?
No.
Not everyone had. You never been to one?
Actually, I have. It was a long time ago, and I remember nothing about it. Yeah, we watched it. I do remember we watched the Texans play the Broncos in a preseason, because I remember I was excited to see those. Peyton Manning was there and J.J. Watt, and neither one of them played because it was preseason. It's like, whatever, it's fine.
So that is some of what Jared Wiley, the Chiefs' new tight end, had to say earlier this weekend at Chiefs minicamp. What about possibly the Chiefs' new starting left tackle? Here's what Kingsley Suamataia said this weekend.
Suamataia.
There you go. All right, guys. Is there meaning behind that last name or behind your name in general?
I'm just named after my mom's brother, my uncle here.
Kingsley, you were, I think it was 78 in college, 79?
Yes, sir, 78.
And 76. Wasn't your M1 available here? What made you choose 76?
Shoot, that was my high school number. That's I chose 76 in high school because of Orlando Pace. That was my favorite O-lineman growing up. So I knew no better than to go back to 76.
So even back then, you knew you were going to be an offensive line.
Most definitely. Yes, sir.
What's it been like? A couple of days into this, got a little practice under your belt a little bit. Does it feel real yet?
Just taking it day by day. It's crazy. We're sitting back talking with a lot of the guys that I met at the combine, like Jared Wiley and Xavier. Just talking with them, like it's crazy that we're actually here now. Every day we're waking up and putting on Chiefs gear. So it's definitely I don't really feel like I've kind of like settled in, like, okay, I'm here now. But it's just a blessing being here.
Kingsley, with the way you get evaluated during the draft, I'm sure teams tell you what they like and what they want you to improve on. But were there things that you saw from yourself playing college, playing left tackle, that you said, I want to get better at this, and this, versus what maybe teams told you during the pre-draft process?
Yeah, I think it was a kind of mixture of the same as what the coaches saw, stuff I could get better at. I think the number one thing was my pass pro. So that's why I've just been working ever since this offseason started. So just getting better on that, little stuff like hand placement and my footwork. And then, just letting it roll from there.
Kingsley, the last two draft classes for the Chiefs, they've all wanted to make their mark in trying to help the team win the Super Bowl and repeat. What have you and your classmates talked about trying to etch and make your own little mark on with this team?
Just be a team player. Just come in, learn from the veterans that are here already, and just wherever best fits for us. Obviously, come out there and ball out every day, get that spot, but just come in, be a team player, and be wherever best fits for Coach Reid.
And have you had a chance to talk to Creed and some of the other offensive linemen that are over here?
No, I haven't met any of them yet. I only talked to Drew. So Drew's been a good mentor to us being here in this camp. So
You mentioned you met some of the guys that are now teammates with at the combine. What do you remember about just your interactions with them back then in February?
it was great. It was like a blessing just being at the combine. That's a lifetime dream goal, to be at the combine, be on TV in front of all your family, everything you work hard for. So just being able to be out there and then seeing guys that you played against. I played against both of them in the Big 12, Texas and TCU. So just being able to, not saying we made it, but we're almost there. It was just a great feeling. And then becoming teammates now. Just our bond from connecting a little bit at the combine and to now being here, being on the same side of the ball.
He asked you about other offensive linemen. Did Pat connect with you pretty quickly after the draft?
What was that?
Did Patrick connect with you pretty quickly after the draft pick?
No, yeah. Patrick, he was probably the second guy that hit me up, just getting ready. He said he's fired up. So I'm just trying to get in the playbook as fast as I can, just to, best help our line and the team. So Patrick has been a great mentor as well. Like, just waking up to a message from him, it just blows my mind. So, but yeah.
Text message or a phone call?
Text message.
So he comes up, it doesn't say Patrick Mahomes, but he's just like, hey, this is Patrick. And you're like,
no, yeah. I just remember waking up, I was like, oh, I need to go. Like I had to leave like an hour earlier to my workout just so I can, it was Patrick Mahomes, So
you obviously got a lot of NFL in your family. Have you been to an NFL game before to watch anyone play, or would this be your first ever NFL game where you played it?
No, yeah, this will be my first NFL anything I haven't been to. Wasn't fortunate enough to go to any NFL games, just watching on TV with my family. But yeah, this will be the opportunity for me to actually play and I guess watch it at the same time. So
you, with everyone in your family has been part of the league, this has just been something that's been ingrained in you for as long as you can remember, to go try to be in the National Football League with all the family that's been involved, I guess.
No, yeah, most definitely. I definitely had that dream since I was a little kid, back in Hawaii, back at home. Just I was always the biggest kid. I can tell you now, I wasn't that good at football, but NFL was definitely a big thing of mine. Just having my mentors, my grandpa being a Hall of Famer, was always on us out there in Hawaii. So just having him and then the rest of my cousins that paved the way for all of us. So just being able to follow in their footsteps.
Kingsley from Beach said he wants you to compete right away at the left tackle spot. I just wonder what you think about coming in and competing for a spot.
Most definitely. Just coming in to work every day. Got to put my best foot forward. I work the guy in front of me. I definitely love all the guys that are here. I'm coming in rookie and just trying to gain all the knowledge I can learn so I can learn the playbook the best, and so I can potentially be out there and play next to them. So it's definitely a great opportunity for me. I'm super excited and I'm actually happy, just feel like, coach can put that on me that I can play. So I'm ready.
We're going to last year with Nate, Matt, and PJ. But Nate.
Kingsley, you talked to us on draft night about the relationships or the conversations you had with Andy. It's one thing to go through that in the pre-draft process. What jumped out to you first impressions wise of actually going through a practice led by Andy?
Shoot. I don't know. I call him Uncle. That's a BYU legend right there. I called him Uncle when I first came here on my 30th visit. And just being able to practice with him, he's very quiet, but when he has his words that he has to say, it definitely hits hard, hits home for me. So just gaining as much knowledge from him too. He knows a lot about our offense. And so just chopping up with him whenever I can, whenever he has the time. But shoot, it feels like family just being here. So it makes it more better and more comfortable.
So that is some of what Kingsley Suamataia had to say yesterday when he spoke to the media for the first time as a member of the Kansas City Chiefs, other than his draft press conference. I love the reverence that BYU apparently has for Andy Reid. He calls him uncle. I thought that was great. Did you ever see the video of Andy on the phone with Suamataia calling him when he got drafted? Did you see that video? He was so excited they were taking a BYU offensive lineman. It was like the happiest I've ever seen him in one of those draft videos.
Loves his alma mater, man. Quiet as it's kept. He goes and
he was at the
watches games. He was
Big 12 tournament.
Yeah, came to the Big 12 tournament. Sat front row to watch BYU get cooked.
Destroyed.
I think it was Texas Tech. He didn't leave.
No, he was there the whole time.
He sat there and watched BYU miss all 38 of the 3-pointers they missed in that game or whatever it was.
Pop Isaacs drilling shots right in his face. Watched the whole thing. I respect that's a real fan right there. I really respect it from Andy Reid. But that is Kingsley Suamataia as well as Xavier Worthy with a day this weekend at Chiefs minicamp. We've got a half an hour left on 580 Sports Talk today since the Royals moved up first pitch against the Brewers. So we'll come back after the national and local news. We'll get to any remaining YouTube comments you guys want to send in, any texts to the Top City Metal Supply text line. We'll finish things up in a little bit with the final word, plus a very busy day and a very busy weekend of 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll get to all that here in just a minute on 580 WIBW. Hey now, it's the final half hour of 580 Sports Talk on 580 WIBW. Brendan Dworzynski, Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you. Royals baseball coming up. Pre-game at the bottom of the hour. First pitch at 6:10. So let's give you the phone number, the text line number, 785-272-9429. That's the Top City Metal Supply text line. Our YouTube stream can be found on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the name of our channel. You can also find the video stream on our website, 580WIBW.com, at 580 Sports Talk on Twitter, and on the WIBW News Facebook page. With that, we're short on time. We've got a bunch of headlines to get to, so why don't we dive right on in, my friends, to our 580 Sports Talk headlines for today. I will begin with the Kansas City Royals lineup for today. Maikel Garcia leads off. Bobby Witt Jr. at short. Vinny P playing first tonight. Salvi will hit cleanup. He's catching. Michael Massey, your 5-hitter at second base. Hunter Renfroe batting 6th tonight in right field. MJ Melendez, your 7-hitter in left. It'll be Adam Frazier, your designated hitter. Dairon Blanco gets the start in center. He is in the 9-hole, all in support of Cole Reagans. Happy Reagans Day to everyone who celebrates. He will be on the mound for the boys in blue, up against Bryce with an S. Wilson for the Milwaukee Brewers. He's 2-1 with a 3-even ERA, 21 strikeouts on the year. The 20-13 Brewers, the 20-15 Kansas City Royals in action, 6:10 first pitch tonight. We should also add on here, this is very good news, left-hand pitcher Chris Bubich will begin a rehab assignment in Arizona tomorrow. That is great to hear after he missed a large portion of last season due to Tommy John surgery. How about that? Great to see Chris Bubich back on the mound.
Yeah, I think he had the procedure mid-April last year, so about 11 and a half, 12 months out of the procedure. And the fact that he's ready to get out and compete on a mound instead of just he's beyond the throwing stage, he's ready to go and pitch in live games, that's a sign that it's progressing really well. It got lost because it was only 3 starts and the season ended up being what it was. But Chris Bubich was like an early sort of canary in the coal mine in a good way for like Royals pitching development. He looked like a completely different guy in those starts last season for the Royals. And unfortunately, his elbow blew up. So we didn't really get to see if it was just a small sample size or if it was a sign that the Royals could identify some ways to tweak their existing young pitchers and help them have more success. We've seen more evidence as we've gone along that the Royals are doing some things well in that department, and hopefully Bubich could pick up right where he left off if he's called upon to impact the Royals this season. And the good news for the Royals is they're not really in a position right now where they're going to have to call on him or need to rush him.
So Chris Bubich, in his first start last year, 2 earned runs in 5 innings. His second start, 6 shutout innings with 9 strikeouts, and then he blew out his elbow in his third start.
Yeah, he pitched it in the rain against the Braves. He had like the long delay. It was all bad.
Yeah, it was kind of a cluster. So good to see him back on the mound. He will start his rehab assignment in Arizona coming up tomorrow. Really, really good news for him. So that's headline number 1. Again, pregame begins in 20 minutes here on 580 WIBW.
First headline for me, Bill Self did an interview earlier today and had a lot of interesting things to say and actually ended up breaking a little news, either advertently or inadvertently. I'm not going to find the outlet if I search Bell Self, but if I search Bill Self, I can tell you that the interview was with Andy Katz, who does content for the NCAA. You can watch the entirety of the 14 and a half roughly minute interview on the Twitter account at March Madness MBB. And I'm sure there are other places you probably find on YouTube or wherever if you want to hear what Bill Self has to say about his team, where they stand this offseason, and where they stand in regards to the improving Big 12 conference. The bit of news that Bill Self broke is that it does look like the Big 12 is going to 20 league games moving forward. Of course, they've been 18 league games. That worked out great. When it was a 10-team league, you could have the true round robin. They played at 18 this last year. Now with 16 teams in the conference, going to 20 does seem to make the most sense. You play everybody at least once, and that gives you 5 games a year that are repeaters, probably at least one rivalry game that you play twice a year. I imagine KU K-State will remain a twice a year engagement. I would hope that both KU and K-State could play Iowa State twice a year. That's a good old rivalry there. Arizona State, Utah, BYU, things like that being twice a year repeated rivalries. But that is now out there. That had been suspected, but Bill Self himself confirmed it. The Big 12 meetings were in Arizona last week, so that's probably where Bill Self has his information from. That might be a decision that was just formalized last week. Other notes from Bill Self's interview with Andy Katz says he does expect that Johnny Furphy will remain in the NBA draft process, very likely to be a first-round pick this year. Also notes that it is not certain, very much up in the air as to whether or not Florida transfer Riley Kugel will make it to campus. In fact, those were his exact words, quote, "It's up in the air whether or not Riley will come." But the rest of the transfer class, Zeke Mayo, AJ Storr, and Rylan Griffin are on track to make it to Lawrence and play this coming season.
So a few KU fans online took note of that specific bit about Riley Kugel and said, well, hold on a minute. You can't talk about a transfer player, just like a recruit, in detail and name them if they haven't signed. So does that mean that he's signed? They just got to work through some stuff? Our guy, Michael Swain, who will join us on the show tomorrow, said, no, he just slipped up. He wasn't supposed to call him out by name. So no, he has indeed not signed with KU yet. I hope he makes it, man. I've more and more talked myself into Riley Kugel as this sort of fascinating bench piece that either doesn't do anything or is so athletic that you can't keep him off the floor because of the potential on both sides of the ball. So I hope he ends up making it to Lawrence. I think it's kind of crazy that major public universities have this much trouble transferring credits, but I don't work in higher education, so I don't get to determine those things. Also, the one thing that I will say is a plus about 20 league games, I think it's an unwieldy number. With this many teams, you sort of have to. You're right. Hopefully this means we never go another year where KU and Iowa State only play once. That series should always be at both Allen Fieldhouse and at Hilton Coliseum. The games have been too good. That has frankly, in the last decade, been the best or one of the best rivalries for KU basketball. It's been K-State, Iowa State, and Baylor. Yeah. Those have been your 3 best basketball rivalries for Kansas. And it sucked that they only played once this year. I hated that. And I hope that never happens again.
Yeah. We should find out about Riley Kugel soon because grades were due at Florida today.
Oh,
according to their academic calendar.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would imagine sometime this week we'll probably know. I mean, if you're KU, you want to know as well so you can just know what you're planning for boot camp this year.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you're Riley Kugel, too, you want to know where can I go play basketball?
Right.
I mean, I imagine if there's a problem with credits with Kansas, you probably can't go to Kansas State because same Board of Regents and all that. I mean, if I'm Kansas State, I make a call, right? If it turns out he can't go to KU, I'm calling, right?
Well, absolutely.
And a hyper-athletic wing who can defend, yes, please. Bring him to me. But I'm hoping he makes it to Lawrence. That'd be a big deal. Spencer, what's your first headline today?
Group of 5 schools are working on preliminary groundwork, already underway for American Conference USA, Mid-American, Mountain West, and Sun Belt conferences to have an official group of 5 top 25 national poll with voting open only to head coaches in those leagues. Independent programs, including UConn, UMass, will also be in the rankings, pushing the number of teams involved to approximately 64, according to footballscoops.com. So I don't know how it's going to be used, but like now you're getting the top 25 for group of 5. They do that in basketball. There's the mid-major top 25. They've never really had it in football.
This is a classic video game thing. I know the old college basketball video games had it. I think some football games did too. They had the mid-major top 25s you could page through in some of the old NCAA football games.
I mean, mid-major top 25 in college basketball, like those rankings are a thing.
Yeah. No, that has existed for quite a while.
Yeah.
I have no problem doing this. I mean, most rankings are like the AP poll is just for fun. The AP poll exists for us. We are the target demographic for the AP poll because it's content. That is all it has. I mean, it determined a national champion as well.
It doesn't have anything to do with like how the playoff is going to get seeded or the conference standings. No, it's just a power ranking. It's no different than ESPN.com's power ranking.
Right.
It's just
the first one
and the most prominent one.
So there's a great book. I've mentioned it on the show before. Michael Weintraub was the author. It's called Season of Saturdays. It's a great book on the history of college football. It's awesome. If you get a chance to read it, I 100% recommend it. It talks about the beginnings of the AP poll and how it really was just a thing for people to talk about. And that still to this day, it is just a thing for people to talk about. So I think that it's fine to do this. I have no problem with it. It's a fun argument for the G5 schools. The only issue with creating it is it doesn't really change any, like the college football playoff rankings are still what determine things. So I guess it's the same kind of thing, right? It's just it's something to talk about for everyone.
Yeah, and I think maybe potentially down the line you could, if things go the way they're going, you could see a group of 5 college football playoff.
I think we're trending toward a world eventually in which the group of 5, the FCS, and the leftovers from the Power 5 just reorganize Division I.
Yeah.
That's what I think is going to eventually happen someday, which I'm not necessarily opposed to for what it's worth. Next headline for me, while we're talking about college football, how about this? A couple of former Topekans and Topeka high school athletes are both headed, and JUCO products in the state as well, are headed to play for Sam Pittman at the University of Arkansas. Danny Saili, who played 1 year at Topeka High after starting his high school career at Jeff West High School. The Sailis, a lot of them had a lot of really good high school football careers in this part of the state. He played a year at Hutch JUCO. He is committed to Arkansas, as has Tyrell Reed, who began his high school career at Topeka West. He eventually transferred to Lawrence High before again ending up at Hutch JUCO. He is headed to Arkansas as well. So a couple of local products going to the SEC. Very impressive. I know that I haven't followed Tyrell Reed quite as closely. I know Danny Saili at one point was being recruited by Kansas State. Danny Saili is huge. He is a large man. And I don't know what his prospects are as a player and contributor right away at Arkansas. He's got SEC size. I know that. We have seen him play up close and personal. He is big enough to play at the SEC level. So pretty cool for a couple of Topekans going to the SEC.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations to them and wish them the best as we move in their playing careers. Spencer, we ready?
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk Playoff Roundup.
Damn right we're ready.
I stayed ready today.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. We got it cleaned up. We are ready for everybody's favorite segment within the segment and the 580 Sports Talk headlines. It is time for the playoff roundup. The first rounds of both the NBA and the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs are fully in the books. In the NBA yesterday, the Cleveland Cavaliers defeated the Orlando Magic in Game 7 of their Eastern Conference first round series. I did not see any of that series because I do not typically watch gas station TV. I even see highlights of this series. I'll be completely honest with you.
Nope, not a single bit.
I think Orlando was up by 18 in the first half on the road and gagged it. So congratulations to the Cavaliers. Moving on to round 2, they'll take on the Celtics in that second round series in the Eastern Conference. Tonight, the Eastern Conference semifinals begin. Game 1 at the Garden, the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers. Word to Spike Lee, word to Reggie Miller, word to Dale Davis, I guess, Larry Johnson. Restoring the feeling with a throwback Eastern Conference series there with the Knicks and the Pacers. Also, Game 2 in the Western Conference semifinals between Minnesota and Denver. The champs down 1-0 after Minnesota stole Game 1 on Saturday night. Rudy Gobert, questionable for the Timberwolves tonight. His partner gave birth to the couple's first child this morning back in Minneapolis, and Gobert was not with the team for shoot-around this morning. Word is he's trying to fly back into Denver. I don't know if he'll get to the arena on time. Nobody's flight tracking it. This isn't college football, but there is
fake fans.
There is a chance that Minnesota could be without the likely defensive player of the year in Game 2 tonight.
I thought you were going to say back in France, to be honest with you.
No.
I had not seen that news. I thought you were going to say she's in like Lyon giving birth.
No, Minneapolis.
That's nice. It's closer. That's a big deal if they don't have Rudy, because for all the times in their respective careers that Nikola Jokic has given Rudy the business, I thought Gobert played pretty well that first game.
He did, and he was a big part of they threw a wrench in Denver's offense for the better part of 48 minutes in a way that nobody's really been able to do to the Nuggets the last couple of years in the postseason. It's a really hard matchup. It's a really hard series. Timberwolves can absolutely win it if they shoot 72% from the field in the second half and Anthony Edwards never misses a shot. They're going to be really, really hard to beat. Game 2 with the home team down 1-0 is typically a bounce back spot for the home team. I would expect the Nuggets to win tonight, but you never know. Minnesota's obviously taken this very personally, and they match up, again, really, really well with what Denver does. Also, Denver's beat up. Jamal Murray's out there at like 50% of physical capacity. That's not ideal. Not what you want in the playoffs. So
get this one, though. You got the long layoff till Friday.
That's true. Those 3 days off could be big. I wouldn't even write off Denver if they go down 2-0, to be completely honest.
They're the best team in the NBA. Why would you write them? No,
this group's come back from 3-1 down twice. I know it was the bubble, but it still happened. They're the champs, and you get a lot of championship equity when you've won a championship.
I would like to interrupt the playoff roundup real fast because we got to get through it. You have insulted Pluto TV in our show notes. You said gas station TV out loud. In our notes, you say you did not watch it because you don't watch Pluto TV. I am here to rep Pluto TV. It is a very good service. It is very useful. It has many good channels.
Did you watch the Magic and the Cavaliers on it?
No.
Wait, why were they on Pluto TV?
They weren't on Pluto TV.
Okay.
I'm just saying it was so out of sight, out of mind that
NBA TV?
It might as well have been on one of those like free cable, fake cable services.
Did you know that Pluto TV is the home of the NBA G League?
No, did not know that.
It is. Anyway, continue.
In the NHL, we're going to have a new Stanley Cup champion this year after the Dallas Stars defeated the Vegas Golden Knights in Game 7 of their Western Conference first round series last night. Dallas
Shout out to
3-2 win.
The Dallas Stars for giving the Caps some better draft position, beating Vegas.
Okay, I see how it benefited you there. Fourth time in the last 6 years, the defending champ has failed to make it out of the first round. Dallas will host Colorado in Game 1 of their semifinal series tomorrow night. Semifinals got underway in the Eastern Conference yesterday. The New York Rangers held off the Carolina Hurricanes 4-3, Game 1 of that series. The other Eastern Conference semifinal gets underway tonight, Game 1 in Miami between the Panthers and the Boston Bruins.
That'll do it for today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll wrap things up with the final word after this on 580 WIBW. All right, let's wrap up 580 Sports Talk before Royals baseball. Dan, you're first.
Royals are playing well, but they've got to be better, and they know it. If their involvement in the Luis Arraez trade talks is any indication, that's another sign from this front office and this team, the way they're operating this year. They're not content to tread water. They're not content to be a fun little April story. They want to be good. They want to bring you winning baseball. They want to bring you October baseball this year. I'm excited to see what shape that takes as we move on with this season.
As I become a new Kansan Topeka person, Kansan Topeka resident, I've thought long and hard about where I'm going to purchase my pizza from. And I think we have a legit contender from over the weekend.
Where is it?
It's Glory Days Pizza.
Glory Days is very good.
Oh yeah.
Big
you want to
fan of
sponsor
Glory
the
Days.
show, Glory Days? Come on.
Yeah, you know the text line number.
Yeah,
785-272-9429.
But I think I might have found myself the go-to pizza place.
That's very important. It absolutely is. My final word for 580 Sports Talk today. K-State basketball, not time to panic quite yet. There are still good players out there. It's a tough look to lose out on your top 2 remaining portal prospects this weekend. You got to go get a decent name, an instant kind of contributor. If you can do that all the way back in on this team, I'm not counting out Jerome Tang quite yet. He has earned more than the benefit of the doubt to this point. We're back tomorrow from 2 until 6. Until then, for Dan, for Spencer, I'm Brendan. The Royals are next. This has been 580 Sports Talk.